All right. Hello. Welcome, Race Brain Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan, joined by Bracken Crocker and Jack Bauer. Today, packed episode. We have to talk about what happened over in Abu Dhabi, 3K. We'll talk about the 21K a little bit. And then we're going to revise our all-time top list for men and women OCR. We have a list that's about 18 to 20 athletes deep. And if the season's over, we got through a full season. BK, how are you going to remember the 2023 season?
Oh my goodness. I wish you had floated me that earlier because this won't shock you. I have too many answers to give. Maybe that's how I'm going to remember it. There will be no one word to describe this. This is like the season lost to time along with COVID. Just like what could have been is probably what I'll think about. What could have been.
Jack, what are your thoughts? Because thinking of that, I'm guessing you're alluding to the 3K and
all of it.
Or
all of it. What could have been.
Could have been about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been about it all. Because this was a season that was a radical shift from the seasons past. When did we hear about this?
This time last year.
It was right.
We talked about it before the Ogres.
Now hearing about what's happening next year is what makes me unable to count this season. Like had they not announced they're going away from it, I would have said this was a good foundation. We learned a lot of things and we're about to move forward. And now that they're throwing it out and starting over, it's like, well, what could have been? Where this could have gone, what we could have already planted for a new season coming this year. I don't know. What could have been?
I feel like it's going to be, they're like, oh yeah, remember that? That was weird. Jack, is there an instance in another sport that was like that? Like, was there a rule change that was for one season?
They enter that would be like when they banned the dunk or started allowing 3-pointers instead. It's like, this is different.
True.
This is a strike season or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Something like that. It's like, oh,
it's not even the bubble. The bubble springboarded the NBA back into prominence.
Yeah. I think that, yes, this was a very unique season, but almost every championship race we had such a good finish. That's what I'm going to remember. Like everyone.
There's no way you're going to remember that of this season. Instead of it being the 3K year, you're going to be like, wow,
okay, I'm saying, of course, I'm going to remember it as the 3K year, but next year is going to have a couple of 3Ks and you don't know after that. So I don't think that this could be like the start of the 3K year or like the biggest 3K year, but it might just return to only one or two times perpetually after this. But obviously this was the year of the 3K, but it was also the year of the crazy finishes, like OCR Worlds, Savage Race, Spartan National Series, Spartan World Championships. Name one of those races that didn't have a fantastic finish at some point.
I was on a call right before this with an athlete who used to have a role with Spartan. And we were talking about how derailed the situation is. And the term corporate suicide kind of floated around. And we both kind of said, it's not fully corporate suicide, but it's not too far from it. And it's weird that you could, from the corporate side, look at it and say, this was just such a miss. But because of what Jack's saying, every race that did happen was so good from a competition standpoint that I think it speaks to no matter what people try to do with the sport, it's still as strong at the top end as it's ever been. The athletes are better than they've ever been depth-wise. We still have all these dynamic individuals just waiting for a way to use it. And every time they're given an opportunity, we've received the best races we've ever watched.
This past weekend, and Bracken, you might be one of a few people you can count on one hand who have seen more OCR race footage than I have. This was probably the best race weekend that I've ever seen in terms of obstacle racing for great finishes.
Yeah, probably.
Given the gravity of the races, world titles, all four of them came down to the last obstacle. Doesn't happen too often.
So again, what could have been? You have all these great athletes, great competitions, just struggling for a place to let their talents fly.
So let's go ahead and get into what happened over the weekend. Let's start with the men's 3K. One of the more exciting finishes that we have seen. We have Veejay Jones taking that first Spartan world title.
You must feel like a proud dad right now.
Oh, that was just exhilarating. I love the fight in him. and just being able to kind of hang and close that way. He was winning that race. Pavel Hardina finished in second. I had both on fantasy, and Ryan Atkins finishing
not in fantasy. I had him in the prediction contest.
You did not have both because, all right, so fantasy, Jack wins. I get last because his cheating ass sabotaged me. BK finishes last on the series. He's eating that pizza with us. Now we're all
we're just eating pizza.
One. We need to get a big old pizza over there at Veejay's here, Colorado Pizza, whatever that is. Haven't had it, but they have a big pizza eating challenge. BK, you got to come through. And we'll just eat that pizza.
We'll train first, not after.
We'll do a big old training session. Then we'll go eat some pizza. But Jack, you definitely cheated, and it worked.
Hey, I got Heinecked last race. You got Heinecked this race. It happens.
You just put people on there who aren't racing, and then you don't draft them, and then you change names of people who are racing, and then draft them.
Rich, I had one person outside of the top 10 on my entire roster. You take away Yanka, I'm still winning. You trade Yanka with Manuel.
Butterfly effect.
Butterfly effect. Yep. Ashton Kutcher Classic. And then you watch, you give me Heineck. What if he wins?
What if he wins? That's
what if he get third? 1, 2, 3.
I've had times when my number one pick didn't even show up. So
erroneous.
Richard Heineck.
As the last place finisher, I'm siding with whoever's been slighted just to sow discord.
Well, Bracken, you're going to have to eat twice as much pizza because you got dead last. One for you and one for Kirk.
Well, at the same time, we have last year's loser still hasn't completed their task. So I'm not feeling too bad about it.
Rich 2 years ago still has it.
That's why we're all
going to eat the pizza
together. It's just
it's supposed to be a 2-person challenge. So maybe
we're doing 3.
Get Kirk there.
Yeah, get Kirk.
Eat a pizza. Me and Jack eat a pizza. We'll go head to head. Who wins in that?
Who's going to win? Yeah.
I used to really count myself good at eating, and I've just lost just like athletically. I think I've just fallen off. I can't eat big anymore. I can't race anymore. I'm just
like a regular person.
What did you guys have for dinner last night?
Chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice and broccoli and egg rolls.
That was me like 2 days ago. Not the egg rolls, but I had pizza last night, so I was practicing.
He's ready. All right, rounding out
just now.
There we go. Rich is holding out.
Leon Kofood finishing 4th. Peter Vinicki finishing 5th. Sergey Pereligan. How are they saying his name? How they were saying Paralesian.
They said Paralesian.
Paralesian. What do you think about that? Eugenio. Gardenia is 9th. Manuel Defoe. Eugenio is 7th. Manuel is 8th. Gian Savani finishing 9th. Jan Vladar 10th, and I think we ended all the way out to 16, made that final. We don't need to go that far. Angel Quintero was 11th, a familiar name there. BK, what was your main takeaway from this 3K? Like after leaving that and seeing this was the 4th or 5th 3K we've seen in totality now, right? So, or maybe 6th or 7th. So, what's your takeaway now? Like
putting aside politics, the semantics, the coverage, the structure of it, just speaking to the competition. I think this proved that the concept in some form or fashion is a viable product. I think they got what they intended out of this, which was a little bit of drama. They had a favorite eliminated in a heat. You had to be able to race your way all the way through to the final. We had Ryland fall off the last obstacle, not get there was chaos. And the 3-lap format, as dumb as we all think this whole 1K, 3K is, it built to a crescendo. You had no runaway victors. You had people together on rigs at the end, and it came down to the final obstacle of the pistol, which is exactly what they wanted. It decided by electronic cosplay warfare, and they got what they wanted, and it worked, right? So even though no one could tell what was happening on the pistol, they still got exactly what the product could be in their mind. And I think it proved that there was a place to build from this. It was a viable product, and it made for a very entertaining race.
I think your part about a favorite being eliminated. Everyone watches March Madness, and it's like, oh, did you see that? The number 2 team just went down. Like, it sucks when it happens. Mistakes happen, especially like I feel bad for Rylan. Like it's the whole what would have happened if he was in the finals. He had, I think, the fastest or the second fastest qualifying time in round 1, and he's won a 3K before, and he's just on a roll right now. So it sucks that happened, but at the same time, drama is what we're looking for, and
that's OCR.
Happened.
Yeah, that's OCR.
Yeah, we've seen it happen with many athletes before where they're a favorite to do well, and it just happened this time. And I thought it was very captivating. You had a small footprint as well, so you got to see people string out, but they were still pretty close to each other because you're in that 1K course 3 straight times. And I don't know, I thought it was very captivating watching it.
Yeah, and it's middle distance racing. There's no room for mistakes, and if you do make a mistake, it has to be caught and remedied in the moment with a split-second decision, like Veejay ran into on the carry. Do I drop and reposition, or do I suffer through and just decide, all right, now I have to just somehow finish while saving energy so I can blast out of it? It was middle distance racing. 1 match to burn, 1 decision point, and that's about it. And that's the downside of that, is that 1 mistake and you're out.
Right. And I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
I think that's appropriate. I think that makes for good racing, is seeing those mistakes happen. Because when we talk about track and field, 5K up to 10K, you're not allowed. You can't make mistakes, right? Nope. Like, and you have to like live with whatever you've decided, and usually doesn't work out that well. And in this, like the pistol was definitely a deciding factor. I mean, Veejay ended up winning by 15 seconds.
Didn't look it.
No, and he got to the pistol. What do you think? 3 seconds ahead of him?
Yeah. 3 seconds, maybe.
Yeah, 1 to 3 seconds, and was able to kind of put that time on. And that is part of this race now, right? And that's an advantage that he had, and he was able to weaponize the weapon on course.
What a term.
Yeah. But also being able to sell out and being able to use what he had the ability to do. Because watching him on that sandbag in the moment, I was like, man, that doesn't look right. It looks like it's slipping off. It just isn't where it should be, where he had really solid carries before. And Veejay, we know, has been working on his strength, so it wasn't really an issue. He took the lead initially at the carry when he passed Eugenio because he was able to pick it up sooner. He just picked it up faster and just moved with it.
And we were talking about tactics, and you can't make a mistake. Like, do you think some athletes made some serious tactical mistakes? Because Eugenio, who you just mentioned, why did he sell out on that second sand? Like, he just gassed himself.
He got off of it and couldn't
He kicked
move.
home with 7 minutes to go. I don't understand that. Like, I know you want to be close, but he was gapping people on the runs. He could have slowly but surely, over the rest of it, and made sure he doesn't fail that obstacle. Like, he probably should have been on the podium, realistically, with how he was running that day.
Yeah. Now, I'm not looking to pass the buck. Athletes are responsible for their performances. But I think what we saw is a few athletes who got 1 opportunity to run a 3K prior, and they ran against people they were able to drop. And in that 1 opportunity, they probably smashed their sandbag. We saw a bunch of the Euros smash their sandbag, their carries. Esther hammered her carries. They made it a point of emphasis. But how many times had they had to do that, not break someone, and come back from it? They didn't yet. This was their first time feeling that. It's really tough to have a world championship based on, what did they get? 1 3K?
No, they had 2 in Mexico.
Well, you're mentioning Europe.
True.
Eugenio,
I guess I'm combining Europe and Mexico together with this, but it was just, I think you're seeing rookie mistakes on some of these things. And world championship, I don't fault him for going for it. However, if I'm running that much better than everyone else, I don't think I'm cooking a carry.
But is he running that much better than everyone else, or is he just running way too hard too early? Right? Like, does he have 10 minutes?
It's
of
like high rocks.
There?
It's like high rocks in the sleds. It's like, I'm gonna get there so fast. It's like, congratulations.
I'm gonna hammer the sleds. Like, it's like, wow, if they could have hung on for the rest of the race. You see our sleds? It's like, but like,
they are that type of runner though. Like, I've run in the sand. We've all run in some type of terrain where you realize what the leader is doing right now, I couldn't do if this was 1 lap. I couldn't match it if I wanted to, and they have the option to do it. Great runners have the option to go out way too hard and not even feel it, as do really poor new runners. And I don't think he's a really poor new runner. He's just that good. And then you see what happens when you tip in the sand, in the heat, at middle distance.
It's actually amazing he hung on for 7th. I figured he would go backwards even further.
If you look, it took Gregory Basilico and some of the other athletes, and you could see it at the end of the women's race. I'm assuming it was the same penalty loop in the Beast as it was during the 3K, and it took some of the women like a minute 50. So I'm guessing the men were like minute 20, minute 30 or so. So for him to get 7th, you take a minute 20 off his time, like who knows what it could have been. And obviously he was right next to in second place at the end of lap 2, but it's a lot of what ifs. I just would have, if he was going to make a decisive move on that, do it on lap 3.
But he was pushing from the very beginning of the entire race. Like he was not, it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna make my move here. He's just like, oh, I feel like I can go faster, so I'm going to.
Do you fault him though? Like look at a Gregory Basilico or an Esther. Like if you've got the running legs, why not go for it early on the run portions of it? I just, middle of the race didn't seem logical at that point.
Championship racing, I can't think of a single example in a championship where someone wins it in the first 10 minutes or first 5 minutes.
All right.
It's just like Rich said, save it for lap 2, or maybe Jack, you said it, or lap 3, but the very best runner gets to start earlier than everyone else, but you don't start first.
Yeah. Let's think of like past world championships. Who was always leading for the women? It was either like Merriam or Faye Stenning at Tahoe. And then they never ended up winning a world champion. They did well, obviously, no disrespect to them, but same with the men. You'd see Woods, Killian, or Angel, like they'd just be right up at the front and then just come back to reality a little bit. They'd still finish right around 3rd through 5th or so, which is fantastic at a world championship, but it's like it usually doesn't pay off when you make your move very early.
There's like this line of gutsy and stupid that are like connected, right? Like, and on either side, it's like if you're running with guts, you put yourself out there, you hurt earlier, and you keep rolling through. And then there's stupid where you just go harder than you should go, and it comes back, and you fall all the way down. And like
the only determining factor is the result.
Exactly. That's a great point. So like you want to be like, oh wow, the person ran with guts, they went after it, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but he could have got 4th, you could have got 3rd. You know, like, like, would you rather be gutsy in 7th, or would you rather be like stupid in 7th or gutsy in 3rd? I don't know, because you can still be, if you're gutsy, you can be gutsy later. You don't have to be gutsy from the beginning of the race.
If there's a place to do it, it's a world championship. If there's ever a place to try to just like catch a heater,
you think
if this sticks, it sticks. If I get there,
everybody that's awesome.
Yeah, but
is this the place to do it when there are only 3 prizes? And 3rd place is $10,000 and 4th is 0.
That's what the prizes were?
It was like 20, 15, and 10.
Wow. I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
That's like a
Wembenyama number to even pretend that I could, do that in a race. So
4th is the same as DNF at this race. No one's going to remember 4th place.
Leon.
You don't take anything home for it. Now, I shouldn't say no one's going to remember it. I still am voting Leon as like performer of the decade for what he's done this year.
Great year
compared to everyone else. And his 4th means more than had someone gone for 1st and faded. My point is, if you go for the win, whether you fade to 4th or last, it doesn't matter. You were there for one reason. So I respect the sentiment, but there are better ways to do it.
For sure. For sure. Ryan Atkins was in this race, and Veejay was very assertive from the front. Like, it wasn't that he wanted to dictate the pace, but he wanted to be around it the whole time. And just Veejay in his classic fashion in OCR, where he can go over these walls and go under things and go through obstacles really without breaking stride and without necessarily having to move himself forward. He just kind of finds himself there because he just determines that's where he wants to be. So we saw that. Ryan Atkins was also up front early, and it just seems like pistol issues. Like, do you think he lost a minute? Like, did he lose 20 seconds each pistol?
No, because Veejay didn't get out in 0.
That's true.
That's
true.
Veejay got out in like
30 to 40 is very legit.
30 to 40 could be, and then he ended up
that's
being
the whole race.
Right, and like that is the race. It can't be like, oh, if it wasn't for the pistol.
And it's not like a marathon where if you can see the leaders at any point in the race up until the last like 600, you have a legitimate chance to win. In a middle distance race, if you are not within 3 seconds, you're done. That 3 seconds might as well be 3 hours. Yeah. If you're not in the mix, you can't race the way they're racing.
Right. And
so that pistol was everything for him. It took him out of contention.
It really did. And he went through that first big long rig as fast as Veejay. He may even
he went faster.
Yeah, he caught up.
Got off at first.
Time. So his obstacles were there. He's being aggressive. He put himself where he needed to be. But that pistol is just like, I mean, but right, like I don't know. It's like not being good at barbed wire. It's like, well, there was barbed wire in this race.
Even the difference is that barbed wire, anyone can practice for barbed wire no matter what your situation is. You actually need a pistol to practice for pistol.
Veejay's just a sharpshooter, man. He can just do that stuff.
We saw it in Dubai. Yeah. He can shoot.
He's got one. He's hooked up.
I don't know if he's hooked up with that, but he's practiced them.
He can, but he shot well in Spartan games as well. Like he just has a little bit of that like aiming ability, I guess.
It's we don't even need to address it, I guess. It has no business here, but since it's here, it rewarded those who could do it.
Right. Which is just part of the silliness of the race.
I think at the end of the day, like Atkins has done 9 Spartan Race World Championships at this point. This is his 8th podium. He has, and we're talking, the main event of the weekend. Obviously, we have the beast to talk to as well. But his worst finish ever is 4th. Doesn't matter if it's a 5,000 foot elevation gain Tahoe at altitude or a 3K in the desert. Like the guy just shows up. It's insane.
That's pretty amazing. That's actually amazing.
I wish to amend my statement. Ryan Atkins might have the craziest motor in all of OCR.
Recency bias.
When are you going to change next week?
I'm probably the most recent one I see race.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But Atkins just reasserted that his is an any terrain, any distance motor. Ryland's is an any modality motor. Atkins is any distance, any terrain. He is just going to be up fighting for the win every championship ever held. It defies logic. Why is he always the one? The fast runner shows up. Who's dogging him? Atkins. The fast climbers show up. Who's dogging them? Atkins. It's freezing. It's burning. It's hard ground. It doesn't matter. He's the one who's always in the mix.
And like the leader who he's contending with is always changing. We saw in the Beast, it was Gregory Basilico this year. We saw Veejay in the 3K. We've seen Hobie, Cody, Albin, Killian. It doesn't, the faces change. He's always up there. It's remarkable.
He maybe hasn't been the best out of any given subset of time. Like from 2011 to 13 or 13 to 15 or 15 to 17. I don't know if he'd ever win the unanimous best in any 2-year gap, but he has beat the best in any one of those years. And he has taken the best all the way to the brink of death every time. Like he has been the constant in the sport now for nearly a decade. Even if he's not clearly the best, he's the only one that consistently is the person up there with the best. I can't fathom how good he actually has become.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like we need to discuss where he ranks later in this episode.
Yeah.
We have that coming up. Teaser. Jack, give us a little bit of a background on Pavel Hrdina, because the commentators at Spartan Race had no clue who he was. Zero idea.
That was disappointing.
And this gentleman in second place in our world championship race, we'd have no idea. How did he get
this
here?
Coverage was a lot of things. OCR Astute was not one of them.
You could just tell there was like they put zero resources into it, right? They gave them nothing. They were kind of like, all right, here's your microphones. And
Steve doesn't want to be in the booth. Steve's dynamic out on course.
Right.
He doesn't want to be in the booth.
But
it's not his jam.
There was no help. They had no help.
Hates public speaking.
They weren't giving them like tickers. They weren't telling them who was where. There was no graphics. Like
the producers tried, and they were chided for talking in the commentator's ear.
We will hear nothing else. Bugger off, or whatever they say.
Button off. Yeah. Button off, producers in my ear. Why do you think they gave you an earpiece, guy?
Well, that was right after they had that mix up with like the power outage, and like
he did it 3 times on the 21K as well.
Oh, he did
3 times. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what producers do. They talk in your ear the whole time, and that's what on-screen talent has to do, is hear while speaking. Like that wasn't them being out of pocket. That's what every announcer ever has had to deal with.
I love that. So maybe they did have some support, but just did not accept the support. Jack, back to Pavel.
Back to Pavel.
I drafted him, and that's all I really know.
Yep. So or I guess in October in the 3K in Madrid, I believe, and I was told by a couple people this, but I didn't actually see the footage of it. Round 1, they had a double sandbag carry, and then rounds 2 and 3 they took it away and just did a single sandbag carry.
That's absurd.
And I looked at the splits, and guess who had like the fastest prelim round? Pavel.
Oh,
yeah. And I'm like, okay, this guy can do some work. He's a bigger athlete also. Like
he was, yeah,
for
sure.
And so I was like, he's going to do some work. And so I put him in the top 5 for the contest, but the regular consistent ones, it's like
retroactively. Cause this is another one where you had your fingers in.
I text Matt every single time you can ask him just to make sure I'm neutral on this. But anyway, Pavel, he ended up getting 3rd behind Heineck and Jeremy Gachet. Jeremy Gachet podiumed last year in Abu Dhabi. He didn't return, and Heineck also apparently didn't race this year. But previously, Pavel Hrdina was on the podium at Trifecta World Championship. I thought that he won the Super last year there. He's a 31 low 10K guy, so he's got some wheels for a bigger guy, and he's just consistently been like that next pack. I think he got top 10 a couple of years ago in a row, a European championship. So he's just been that guy who's just right on the cusp of breaking through. And this is just a really good format for him.
Yeah. And he was there basically the entire time, asserted himself and was pretty consistent all the way through.
Smart racer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just obstacle proficient. I mean, Veejay's the best in the world. So when it came down to a couple obstacles right at the end, he was at a bit of a disadvantage. And Veejay was just winning that thing, man. He wasn't going to not win.
Yeah. Well, and if you set any athlete up, you're going to go A-frame, what was it? Slip wall, A-frame.
A-frame first, then slip wall, and then the rig, pistol.
And you have to start at the same time as Veejay. If you get to the pistol within 2 seconds of him, you're world class through that gauntlet. Like at the end of a race, how many people can you think of that would be able to match Veejay through there? That could also stay with Veejay through the end. Probably Atkins.
Yeah.
And that's it.
A handful.
Yeah. There might be some people that could maybe hang, but they wouldn't be with Veejay at the end of a race. I mean, that right there, losing to Veejay at the end by that little showed how good he was at obstacles, that under duress, he could fly through within 2 seconds of Veejay through 3 obstacles.
And he was also gripping the ropes properly. Not above the connection.
Properly is allowed. They said that's allowed.
I know.
You gotta get off is on the rules.
We had to talk about that at some point. Like that drove me crazy.
Why?
However,
he does it every time.
That's a bad tactic. Like for a while, even in Palmerton, I was gonna do it anyway. I was gonna do it the right way to like feel what my grip was like. But had I made it to the final, I was fully intended to cheat my way through the whole thing because
it's not cheating.
If it's the rule, you are actually intentionally losing time by not doing it. Like that's just a bad tactic with the race on the line.
If it's between that or failure.
Or giving up time. They talked about how it was going to be slower. It's not.
Going up top's not slower?
No, not in that setup. I don't believe
They said that it was going to be raised a little bit more.
To me, it looked lower than Palmerton.
I don't think you could get through it that fluid. Like an athlete like Veejay who does have a long reach might be able to swing through it. But usually
what it allows you to is grab and reach to the next rather than have to tap. Oh man,
stay in an L.
Down 2 or 3.
3. You guys continue on. I gotta attend to my flock.
Yeah, this is important.
Yeah. No, my solution for that is if you're going to allow grip on the top, but you want to discourage people to do it, get rid of the hanging, like the how they have like a tether or a rope that's like a foot long. Just get rid of that. Just make it
rope. Dangle it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm saying have like an inch connection, like metal to metal with a really small carabiner between the two of them or something. And then you can't grip. Your hand is literally too big to fit in between there. And then you force them to do it.
They could do like Savage with the long ropes where you could actually use
hang the rope all the way over.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I have no problem with it. It's allowed. Who cares? Get
just
from one
hang
side to the
chains
other.
At that point.
Do some chains. Go like it doesn't even matter.
2 chains.
Yeah. 2 chains. So what else do we have to say about Veejay?
I do want to say on Pavel, just give him his flower. Like that was
impressive.
A world-class performance. It wasn't just like a one. You can't fake it for 5 laps of that. He was the man there. He was very clearly, I shouldn't say very clearly the second best because Eugenio might have been, but he was very clearly top 3 in the entire world on that weekend there. And it wasn't even that close other than Atkins' pistol.
Kind of like really, he's an unknown because the people presenting the information of the race didn't even know who he was. So I don't think it's far to say that he was unknown here, but he certainly was within this field of stars. And for him to just step up, be like, hey, it's a good format for me. I'm not afraid of Ryan Atkins, of Veejay Jones, of Sergey Perelagin, Manuel Defoe, like really good names all the way down. He's like, this is a format for me, so I'm going to try to win this race.
At no point from January 1st through the start of the final would someone have picked him to be the person if you said someone pushed Veejay to the finish line. Who was it?
Right.
He wouldn't have been the pick by really anyone other than probably his friends and family.
Right. Jack's over here trying to make up a reason why he would pick him, but he'd be lying.
I would have put him in the top 5 because I did. But what I was going to say is John Albin's been removed for a couple of years. Like Peter Ziska's been gone for a couple of years. Who are like, you have to think of 3 European men. Who do you think of in terms of like right now? Who are the faces of from a U.S. perspective? Who do you guys think of?
Heineck Basilico.
Does that other Spanish dude race anymore?
Albert Soleil. No, he was injured all year. I was thinking you guys would pick Gregory, Richard, and Leon as like the faces. Maybe Manuel because you saw him a lot, but like Pavel's, he's got to be in that discussion whenever anybody's talking about the best in Europe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and this is we don't know. Like this is again like we see athletes and we know these names because of what they can do over the course of 15K to 21K generally. And the 3K is a whole different deal. Like, so it doesn't always translate apples to apples. I mean, it seems to translate to a certain extent, but it's hard to know like what kind of output some of these athletes have. So this is basically their introduction to a lot of them.
That it was new people on the world for the world championship besides Atkins. Like it's a new distance. I think it's good that you have new people.
We also didn't have a lot of the, like, what was the,
well, we're finishing up the men right now. Obviously the women get to after.
If we didn't have a Heineck, we didn't have Jeremy Gachet,
but we had a loaded like regardless of what you guys say, like Nikolai Dam got 16th and he got 3rd the next day. Like Ryland didn't make the finals, and I know that he didn't get eliminated head to head necessarily, but there were some really good athletes in this field.
Well, and Veejay's the standard. Yeah. If we all agree that he's the best short distance racer in the world, then it doesn't matter who else showed up, because if we said they would have made a difference, it means they would have beat Veejay, because you couldn't get closer to Veejay than Pavel was. Yeah. And so like, are we saying Heineck was the favorite, or that Gachet would have been the favorite? No, I don't think so. I think Veejay was always going to be the #1 dog, which means you couldn't get better.
Kempson would have been scary, I think.
Kempson would have been good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But none of them would have been the favorite over him in a 3K race. So what I think is cool, like 7 months ago, Rich and I had a conversation. I was like, you know what? I have nothing else that excites me, but this seems kind of made for my skill set. What if I just go all in on this? What if that's just my year? And we didn't get around to doing that. But that conversation was happening all over the world, and none of us knew about it. You know, maybe Pavel had that conversation. You know, Leon had to have been thinking about it, and we got to see it. They finally found a distance that was so different than the 21K that it mattered. Like even that 10K distance, that 5-6K is still close enough to 21 in engine demands that it's the same guys. But this 3K distance was finally different enough that you had all these people with secret desires to be great, and they finally got to show it.
Not all great half marathoners can run a fast 5K and vice versa. And that's basically the time domain that we've seen in the past. So, or marathon even.
When we had our emergency show, I think we did when they announced this, Veejay popped on. I don't know where he was, Walmart, Dick's Sporting Goods, somewhere.
Mm-hmm. No, he was getting ready for heading to work.
Was he not in a sporting goods store?
I thought he was at Dick's or something.
He was at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking a different time. But
all right, negative points, Jack.
Negative.
Then But he was like, yeah, this is basically like he wasn't thrilled about the announcement necessarily. Like I don't think anybody was, but he's like, well, this is kind of a series that is built for me here. And during the season, it was kind of up and down on where he really was going to spend his time. Seeing how the landscape is kind of shifting toward hybrid stuff, and he had definitely had some prowess there. And we saw him finish 5th at Deca Fit World Championships the week before, and just kind of being of the top there and testing out some of these other type of goofy game stuff and doing fairly well. It wasn't like his very specific focus coming into this, but when it came time to get ready, he was ready, and he just brought that. He just had that confidence that he had in OCR World Championships 3K the year before, and just like
Stratton,
that killer mentality of like, I'm the best out here. Like it's not going to be easy to beat me, and it was really nice to see him out there just like competing his ass off and taking that W, man. Not easy.
And we've seen in the track world, if the race is short enough, supreme belief gets you all the way to the last lap. It just gets you there. The people who are like, I know I'm the best here, so I'm going to wind up in the group when the kicking starts. And he had that. He's like, I just know I will get through to this. And so he was there. That really matters in middle distance racing. Just believing I'm there at the end, I'll find my way there. You find your way there.
And he was probably salivating knowing that it was a rig plus a pistol at the end. He's like, if I'm close, I've got 5 seconds on everybody in these two alone, unless they execute as well as I do, which no one's proven to do.
So, yeah, I mean, it was just great. And having won championships in the past, it gives him a little bit of that edge of, you're going to have to go through me. And he kind of had that mindset going in. And yeah, BK, like you mentioned, just that belief, I think it was more than anything.
Yeah.
Was what got him this.
Because they said this is the fittest he's ever been for this type of thing. I don't believe that to be true. Well, I think he may be in the best all around fitness in his life. All around. But for this test, I think last year him beats him here. I think probably the year before beats him here.
Yeah.
In terms of just snappy speed, time spent on obstacles. It didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
And pistols are like free throws. It's one thing to do it all season. At the very last second, knowing that you have to go perfect to win. He's that person. There aren't moments for him. He just does his thing no matter what the moment is. And we saw other people fail their way off of podiums. He ensures that he just takes care of business at the highest of pressure.
Where do you think this ranks for him in terms of his titles?
That's
an interesting discussion for later, right?
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, on a personal level, like, does this mean more than the OCR World 3K? I think from talking to him, for like, if he was able to beat John Albin in any of those, because Albin wasn't there, I think that's like the one thing that he's like, I just want a chance to do that. Just to prove I was too young when he was dominant, and now like he's world class still. Veejay's obviously world class. I think that's the one thing he wish. So I think this one probably meant a little bit more to him given who he beat.
And like, what OCR World Championship pay him? Like $500. He made. I'm sure when he looks back, he's like, this was very helpful.
Yeah,
for like lifestyle and just like confidence of pursuing
Peace
that,
of mind.
making it all worth it. Yeah, like putting in this work instead of like chasing like what OCR kind of has been, where it's like maybe there'll be some money, maybe you'll get it, but this is a really big chunk of cash. So
he could win every High Rocks major this year and still wouldn't make as much as this one win when you think about it.
True.
All that is true, and I'm still going to say that his first World Championship OCR 3K probably was the most special to him. That's a guess.
Probably
but I'm going to take that side.
But I think this was probably the most I'm proud of it one.
I can see that.
Yeah, I'll ask him when he comes back.
It's crazy. 25 years old, and he has like this arc going up and down, right? Like where even in major sports, we don't really start bashing against people until they're like 27, 28. And he's like, finally got over the hump of World Championship. Now he's like a seasoned veteran at these World Championship events. He's got a lot to go too. So
it's not done.
Not done. But yeah, going international. And last year didn't go well for him. Like he circled.
It helped me last year. Parasite. So,
well, but also just like redemption, right? Like he knows he had a parasite, you know that, but like on paper, he's gonna have like this. What did he finish 11th?
He had like 20 something straight wins in races that were under 70 minutes, and that was like a 50-minute race. So on paper, he should have crushed everybody.
On paper, he should have won, and it's like redemption, same style of venue, running on sand. It's just like another like thing you can check off. It's like you can't beat me in all of these venues.
Did you see what he wore?
What did he wear?
Endorphin Pro 3.
He did? That's what's up, man. Is that, I guess the rocking forward could help, right? Like a rocker on sand could be helpful if it's hard packed enough.
They talked about shoes on the broadcast, which is very difficult for me.
Did you go crazy?
Surface area.
Yeah, they were saying that carbon plate wouldn't help in the sand, and I think a firm non-flexible would be beneficial, so that all your surface area pressures happening at the same rate, so that you're just getting off rather than sinking in portions. I think the wider platform of the Endorphin Pro 3 would be helpful. I don't think it's the most laterally stable of shoes. I think you can slide off the side of it if you roll at all, and it's super porous up top. So it wouldn't have been the shoe I would have chosen on paper, but clearly he did some testing and he knew what he wanted to do, and he did it.
Yeah, and I guess like a carbon plate might not be beneficial in terms of compression for the foam, which is a lot of reason why that stuff is in there, because you're not going to get that same type of energy return. So it probably would be less beneficial. But
it stops the compression though.
Because
it splits it in half. They can only go like this rather than this. Like it cuts the compression or rebound in half. So I think it'd be less.
My understanding was that it's in the middle so that like it compresses both sides. Like if there was no plate, like you probably can generate enough force to get the full compression.
I think you compress just fine, but it's just a sluggish rebound.
Too much space.
Yeah, it's marshy. Either way, I don't think you get nothing back from the sand.
Right.
But just it's a better platform, I think. But
it looked a little more solid on.
Hey, look at this thing. Look at how porous that upper is.
Yeah.
That's just asking for sand to go through.
For sure.
Was he wearing gaiters? Because it didn't look like it.
No, he just had a strip of tape around this.
Yeah.
Because
he told me
he
when
knew.
I saw him a couple days before he took off, and he was like, I don't think I'm wearing gaiters. And I'm like, you might want to bring them just in case. You don't know like what they're going to do on the course this year, but I guess he stuck with it.
Yeah.
So shouts to our guy taking his first Spartan World Championship. And again, it's like there's not a lot else for him at this point, you know, and we don't know where it's going, but he's done quite a bit in terms of championship performances. So like at this point of his career,
the naysayers will say one thing's missing.
Well, like a beast situation.
True Spartan distance world championship. Beast distance.
When he was like 18 and he was doing those, I don't know.
I mean, they were going to say that's the piece on his mantle that's missing.
It doesn't even really exist anymore. Like, I don't know if like this world championship that happened in Abu Dhabi is going to be like, oh, wow, like Cody Moat has one and this is on the same.
Look who won though.
Yeah, but the
person doesn't justify the title.
Right. What are you talking about?
Well, interesting about that is at the beginning of the year, they said the world championship is the 3K and they'll hold a championship beast the same weekend. But they never really called it a world title until later in the year. So I'm not entirely sure what they were planning with that. I don't think it negates the race. There were monsters in there and it was awesome. But the 3K was from the beginning billed as the A side.
And the like the payouts and everything. And like there was actually a series and there's a build up. And like there was when it's just like a one-off like that, it's like, oh, and here's the world championship at this other distance, which have they done that before, Bracken? Back when?
Killington 2014. They had the short course for you.
Yeah, they didn't even call it a world championship though. They just said it's also the short course championship. That's probably one of his only things I disagree with is that he claims a number of world titles that don't add up to me.
Like this would be on par with like a TMX to me. Like TMX, like if like it was a one-off type of thing, and like then just claiming it to be a world championship doesn't. If there's not like a season around it, like how could it pop? Just because you slap a title on it, like
even TMX, I agree with because it's the only thing happening in that weekend.
But it was like
this was a tack on
like
to the championship.
Show.
But
no, I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm just saying that even has more credence than day 2. Also, there's a beast,
right?
And along the way, we're gonna start slipping the word world in front of championship heat.
How's it any different than 2012 Killington, Bracken? Were you?
It's not. That's a
you
BS title
on the podium. Yeah,
I was on I was on the podium, but I didn't ask for that title.
Yeah,
and I don't call myself a world championship podiumer in the Ultra Beast.
We do.
I've never once said I have a world
number 16.
I've never said I have a world podium at the ultra distance. Because
why is that one different? Is that just like because it was the first year?
They told people, yeah, that was the first Ultra Beast ever, right? And they told people like, run another lap. We have more prize money.
From the beginning, it was they're both going to start at the same time for logistic issues, so that it is just 2 laps, but you must declare for one or the other, or both. But there is no race day decisions. You have to pay in advance and register for both, special timing chip, all that stuff. And when I came through, I did my finish line interview and they offered me the chance to keep going because no one at 3rd place hadn't come through yet. So I decided to go.
4th place at it because you were 3rd, right?
But I wasn't part of the ultra. So the first 2 had, or no, just one, just first had gone through. I was 2nd. So I started that lap in 2nd in the ultra after standing there for 10 minutes.
Because Hobie didn't do it or something.
Yeah, not registering. I hadn't paid for, like, I basically just bandited that race, but with the race director's approval. That doesn't count. I am not a world championship podium earner at the ultra level. So no, I would say it's no different than that. They're both just kind of like add-ons, but it doesn't change the fact that I emptied my soul on that course and raced great people, just like the Beast athletes did.
Right. That's
no,
yeah.
Don't anyone out there think that I think that about myself, because I don't.
We do.
Yep.
My lap splits were 259, and then like, what would that have been? 440.
Weren't you like a raccoon? You were like just trying to scavenge for used gels and stuff on the ground.
Forage?
Like,
I was licking people's wrappers trying to get calories. I went out for a 4-hour and 40-minute lap with nothing after emptying the tank for 3 hours. Like that's not being part of a world championship race.
You're like, I'm a beast. I can dunk a basketball. Watch me do this other lap.
No that's problem. A Spartan stunt, and I understood that at the moment.
Right.
And you know what they did? They didn't pay me.
Duh. How much did they say they were going to?
Well, it was 5-3, or it was like 10-5-2 or something for the world championship. And then the Beast was similar or same or something like that. But instead of giving me 2 and 2, they paid me 1 and 1.
Oh my God.
So they paid me for it, but they split my 2,000 into 1 and 1.
I know, I paid you. Yeah. No.
So anyway, no.
Checks in the mail.
Not a world championship.
In the mail. All right, let's talk about the ladies. We had Lindsay Webster taking that W on the women's side. Alyssa Petrova putting up a great fight and really being aggressive early on and throughout the middle.
She was super impressive.
2nd. Yeah, that was a great race on her end. Esther Horta-Bagiova finishing 3rd. Ida Matilda Steensgård in 4th. Yanka Popova, not Yanka Petrova, finishing 5th. Clara
Come on, keep going.
Nah, I'm exhausted.
Lukajikova.
I'm too tired already. Sandy was in 7th, and Angelique Chateauneau potentially was in 8th. So that was rounds out, and they only had two heats, 1 round of 1K.
That's what it seemed, yeah.
Which I think is fine. I think that is completely fair. We don't need to see, what would it have been, 6 people or a third.
It's not completely fair.
They weren't as tired.
Yeah, if they followed the rules, they would end up with like 3 people in the final, right? They
could have done like 15 top 12 make it, then top 8 make it. Just something, so they have to get a little bit more fatigued.
It's definitely not right to change the rules at a world championship event, but
as we've seen.
But hey, Spartan just lets it go. I think it was the right decision. Silly that they have that the way that it was set up in the first place, but they only had 1 qualifying round in, which is worth noting.
It's the wrong call.
You don't like it?
They changed a 5K to a 4K race.
That's true.
That's dumb. That is really dumb. That entirely changes the dynamic of how people got to approach and race. and what they brought into the final. Now, was it even across the board? Yes. But is it fair? No.
Right. And maybe that's why we did see there be such an aggressive pack. And it probably was beneficial in terms of, in terms of the visuals for the race. We had 4 or 5 athletes just battling early.
It was a fantastic race.
Where if there was an extra 1K, maybe we don't see that type of pack mentality early.
You have an extra 90 seconds of having to do sandbag carry all out to qualify for the finals. You have to beat up your hands a little bit more on some of the grip stuff. Like, you might have seen a little bit war of attrition. Although the top 4 women in there were just such on a different level, maybe not.
So Lindsay took it down. She made a decisive move while running, which we figured the two, I mean, Alyssa's obviously a great athlete, but Lindsay's probably going to have the running advantage over most athletes in this field over that distance. Like if this was a flat 5K, she probably
I don't know.
wins. She's pretty fast.
I'm not saying she's not. I just don't know what any of these women are capable of, because unlike the men, we don't see the women's OCR field branch out and try wild races out of nowhere. Their wild races are they get wilder, like she'll do sky running or things like that. But they don't branch onto the road and track very often.
The only time we ever really see them is in like an OCR stars thing, but they're not changing their entire day so that they can do it's like, oh, okay, I'll fit this in the middle of the week. This isn't like a peaked 5K to know how fast they are. It's just kind of an estimate.
So she did make that move on the 3rd lap, I believe, where she was kind of hanging in.
So impressive to watch.
Let's not forget early up, like Lindsay is always, I'm going to stick on your shoulder, make the move at the right time. She came out of the pistol in like 4th place, 10 seconds down on lap 1. She was probably like, oh crap. Like I've got to change my strategy instead of just being on someone's shoulder and then really making a big move at the end. I think that was a major unexpected turn of events.
That first half of the ensuing lap was the most aggressive stride I've ever seen her use in my life, especially when compared to the women around her. She usually looks like she's just sitting there pitter-pattering along in comfort zone, and she looked like she was flying all out. You rarely see her desperate like that. Maybe at the end of OCR Worlds this year, we saw that in the 3K. But I've never seen her open up and attack that way. It was so cool to see that arrow come out of her quiver. When does she have to do that?
Yeah, almost never.
Not often.
With this race type of distance is something that it did stretch her to have to do.
Her winning, it's like, Lindsay won. How she won, to me, just amplified her legacy.
I was very impressed with Elisa as well. Like her running was fantastic, very obstacle proficient. She seemed calm when Lindsay was gaining on her and stuff, and right next to her, even into the 3rd lap, she asserted her position, tried to make a little bit of a move, but Lindsay was just so fast there. But I think she found herself in the lead sort of intentionally. I think that she kind of went out pretty fast. She wasn't like, I'm just gonna hope that one of them screws up. It's like, I'm going to be in the lead after lap 1, and then I'm gonna make them hurt. And I think that it mostly paid off. And 2nd place after 2 straight 3rd places at Spartan Worlds, it's a heck of a resume.
Now
that's how you press the issue in a short course race.
That's what I was going to say in terms of tactics compared to Eugenio, who we saw on the other end, like where it was kind of drastic. Like she seemed to put herself in a position that she knew she was capable of holding. And that's probably why she ran out of juice in that 3rd lap, was just hoping that she could potentially gap the field. And that's probably why she didn't end up hanging on for 2nd. But like, I guess in retroactive, like what are you supposed to do? Because like, if you don't do that, like Lindsay's probably not going to take the lead, and you just like sit on Esther potentially. Right. Like,
And is it smart to try to outrun Esther? Probably not.
I mean, over the course of dynamic.
And then it's like, do you want Ida near you? Because she's just going to go faster in the obstacles if you're right next to her at the end. It's a tough position to be in. Like, you just kind of have to go to the front at that point.
So that's where like that line of gutsy and dumb, I put her on the gutsier side. Even though like maybe she could have figured out a spot to not maybe press the issue from the start, going against like the best OCR athlete we've ever seen. But she put it out there. She's confident on the sand. She figured she had maybe had an advantage with the travel, energy wise. Like,
oh, definitely travel
and not racing her over this distance. She's like, maybe I can get away.
Yeah. And half of getting away from people is mental. Like there's the physicality of I can't keep up with this person. And then there's the mental side, which is it's over. I've got a race tomorrow. And I think she was now Lindsay's an atypical athlete among atypical athletes. Lindsay just doesn't have a whole lot of quit in her. So it was ironic to hear her talk the next day that she had a low patch and almost gave up for a while. But during that 3K, I think most athletes in Lindsay's situation would not have closed the gap with the desperation that Lindsay did. I think Elisa Petrova may have just broken people in that moment. I think she was probably only like 20 meters of gap away from disconnecting from Lindsay.
It was close.
And Lindsay just got it back.
Like 2-3 more seconds on the pistol that she struggles and she gets around a corner a little bit, or
she was on the ropes. It was so close. Yeah. And then it didn't pay off, but it did.
At the end of the race, like the panting that Lindsay was doing, that was pain. That you could just see her diaphragm. Like that was some heavy breathing right there. She sold out.
Eugenio never had people on the ropes.
No.
Lindsay was damn close to not winning that race. And then she showed who she is.
And maybe if there's one or two obstacles in that stretch where she was able to run her down, maybe that changes it, right? Like there was some uninterrupted running that Lindsay really took advantage of to use her fitness to her advantage. If there's something broken up in there, whatever it is, like if dunk wall's there, slip wall or
Atlas
something.
Carry, something.
Right, exactly. Z wall. Maybe the outcome's different, but I think she played it really well. It seemed like Lindsay had that plan. It's like, this is a space that I can move on.
And what was her margin of victory over Lisa?
14 seconds.
Okay, so it's basically the same as Veejay versus Pavel,
which is
completely different races, realistically.
Really, yeah,
same finishing time for the gap, not even close to the same story.
Just as importantly, she got rid of Esther. We saw Esther push Lindsay in the sprint in Greece, so clearly Esther can get up and go. And if you have two titans like that, and you get rid of one of them and stay ahead, that's still almost best case scenario.
Or she did it in the super because Esther failed a spear in the sprint.
Well, the sprint, I'm saying Esther was pushing Lindsay for the vast majority of the race.
Yeah.
Like she has that ability to burn. She doesn't look like she should, but she can move fast. And Lisa got rid of her.
Okay, real quick on Esther. I know we're going to move on to her, but we were talking about her. She could just go. You know how we talked about her cadence and she was like 236, 240 or so in Greece? What do you think she was on the sand? Multiple times just throughout the race. On the sand.
At one point I looked and I thought, I bet she's still running 210 right there.
What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's got to be slower.
It was like 212 to 220 every single time that I took a swim. And I looked at Atkins and the Beast sometime running. You remember that stretch like towards the end of the race when
she's like
30 seconds behind Greg? He's like 150. I'm like,
what? He's in the 10.9s as well. 150 in those is like 180 in a normal shoe.
He's wearing the 10.9s?
He wore the 10.9s.
That's amazing. I guess is that a good use case for him?
I bet in the dunes it was. I bet on the road at the end, he was like, these things weigh 8 pounds. But you're right, Jack. I thought of you during this one stretch. They showed her on camera. She had like a little slip or something and got back to work with aggression. I'm like, she's running so much faster than I would run on the road in terms of cadence right now.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And I had the thought that Lindsay had to be thinking of OCR WC 3K
with Nicole at the end on a rig.
Right, with the rig, with the A-frame, with like these things where sizable gap, had it, but that wasn't going to happen to her this time through.
And that doesn't happen often to Lindsay. So, like, if that's
the most
recent,
right?
If that's the most recent race that she had run, and that was her most recent experience, it's like, oh crap, don't let this happen again. But
want to flip it to this 21K? I don't want to spend a ton of time on this.
What about Ida? We didn't really shout her out. 4 seconds off the podium, and I know that she kind of got out of it for a little bit and then clawed her way back. But that's a tough position to be in, fourth place right there. But she went with them. Like, I was impressed.
Yeah, I was happy she did go with them. That's where she needs to be there.
Yeah, she was in that tough spot of she on paper could be the best person there, but one of them lives and trains on this and has raced on it tenfold compared to anyone else on this terrain. And the other two are the two best in the world right now at almost every distance.
Right.
And she did really, really well, but she got disconnected and was like the classic mid-distance thing again. Like, I got disconnected, I kicked big, and I came up a little short. It's a great result. She's just going to be kicking herself all year that, man, if I had been a little more connected. And I don't know what caused the disconnection. If it was, I thought she dropped her sandbag or something and was having
There was
trouble.
a little bit of a gap. It looked like at that point. I know Lisa
trouble
broke
with the
away.
sandbag getting it up at one point, but
yeah,
whatever caused it, that's going to probably eat at her because she ran a great race.
I kind of look at it like the David Drudy shit. We're talking about 800s and mid distance so much. Like it was that 800 when every single person set a PR and like the fastest time for that finishing place ever. It's like Nick Symmonds is a 142 guy at the end of the day, but he still finished like 5th at the Olympics. So he's probably not happy about that. But his performance, if you isolate it, is like you ran a heck of a race. And I feel the same way about Ida.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
So just another one for Lindsay, just solidifying herself even further. This is her gazillionth world title. So congrats. And just doing it at a different distance, I guess.
5th Spartan Worlds title.
Wow, that's wild. That's going to
1 in a super, 3 in a beast, 1 in a 3K. So she's done all the standard distances, basically.
It's like a long time if we ever see anything like this again. It's going to be...
I don't think we can.
I don't think the sport's going to last as long. Are we on to 21K?
21.
Do it.
21. Men or women?
Let's just keep going with the women. We didn't talk about Esther a whole lot here, and she was the star of the show, in my opinion.
Esther takes the win over Lindsay Webster, and then Sandy finished in 3rd.
20-something minutes back. It was definitely a 2-athlete race, realistically.
Oh, yeah, she was 23 minutes back.
The gaps in this race, men and women, were embarrassing. But the performances were not.
But we saw the same exact thing. Even like John Albin was 10 minutes behind Atkins and Sergey when they won. Like there have been gaps. I think the sand and the heat makes a big difference. So
right.
You crack in the desert, time goes out the window.
Yeah, and we saw many people go out way too fast. Like what was her name? Eileen Sabel. Like probably shouldn't be running with Esther and Lindsay 20 minutes into the race, and I think she finished like an hour behind them at the end. We saw with the men, you saw Matthias Krautz, and then a couple others. Ismail Rosali went out way too fast. Warney barely even cracked the top 10 at the end, and it's like the desert does weird stuff once you get into the dunes.
Yeah. In reverse order, I think Sandy Menchie gets my Outstanding Performance of the Weekend award. She outkicked her coverage every time, or at least according to the Western standards of what she would probably be able to accomplish there.
Best ever finished by an athlete from Asia.
Yeah, wow, she was the best of the rest in all the races.
If we count this as a world championship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't.
Well, I think 8th or 7th in the 3K. That was where Sandy finished.
Yeah. I don't think she made the final. Or did she?
Sandy did. Yeah, Sandy did. Because I thought Angelique was 8th and she was like right before.
Yeah.
And then you had Yanka and someone else before.
So I'm very impressed with her. But Esther is just so doggedly tough. And she has strength that does not visually manifest.
It's like Hobie Call. You don't expect
unreal.
That. And we heard Lindsay say that during the post-race interview in Greece. And I mentioned that when they gave me a call during the broadcast. I'm like, remember when Lindsay said this like a couple of weeks ago? She's like, holy crap, I had no idea Esther is so strong on these heavy carries. She just doesn't put it down and it just doesn't affect her after. And with arguably the worst carry we've seen in a decade in terms of brutality, and she gets off and then puts a 1.5-minute gap on Lindsay over the next like 10K or so.
How long was that carry?
11.5 minutes.
Oh my God.
And this isn't like flat ground. This is like you're shuttling sandbags up a sand dune because it's falling down because the sand just does that.
Oh my God.
Nasty. So for the listeners who didn't see it, they arrived at Lindsay and Esther side by side. They get to this double sandbag. Men had already gone there. The volunteer directed them to grab the wrong bags, and they both picked up the men's bags.
Classic.
For a double sandbag. And this is one where you could see Atkins and Rylan and Gregory. It was taking them like 5-6 minutes. So you knew this was going to be bad. Never mind adding in the 40 extra pounds that these two women had to carry with smaller frames. It was disgusting.
Two things. First of all, Gregory, there's a picture of Atkins running up or hiking up the sand dune. Gregory's behind him with his on the ground. So Gregory was having to resort to that tactic.
Smashed.
And now you have a bunch of 100 to 120 pound women doing it with the same weight. Second of all, we rewinded, Lisa and I, and looked at it. We could not see where they should have picked up. It was just one giant mass of sandbags. There was no color differentiation that we could see, no size difference. It was just like a cluster of sandbags. I don't know what they were expecting to have happen there.
There was a video clip of Esther's bag ripping a huge hole in it.
Yeah.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not buying that she was, pouring it out.
She wasn't. In fact, to her credit, and again, Lisa and I were talking about this watching it. For the rest, it happened up the first climb. Every video footage we had after that, she had it vertical and was intentionally not letting more come out of it.
Yeah.
I said to Lisa, I was in that situation once and I let that baby just flop and let sand come out the back.
Sucks for them.
She's sitting out there in 90-degree weather, going up a sand dune, like, I must keep this vertical for the integrity of the sport. And I gained a lot of respect for her. She could have come back with that thing empty, and she came back 3/4 full.
Esther had one on her neck, not even her shoulders, on her neck. And then the other bucket carry old style in front of her, and her hands were interlocked underneath it, hanging on. And then you saw like she took a step and a little, like the opening, which had already poured open that Bracken was alluding to. She grabbed that thing within like a second and flipped it back up. She wasn't looking at the camera being like, oh crap, they're on me. Like this was I'm going to do this for integrity at that point. And what can you do at that point? Like her reaction time was fantastic right there. She has 50 pounds or so on her neck, and she's carrying it in front of her, and she just quickly releases one arm to cover the top again, and then keeps on going. I thought she had good integrity there. So anybody who's calling her out, I'm not buying it.
It's not her fault.
No.
It's like the sport is like, this is just something that happens in this sport that is just kind of silly. And just we've seen this happen in other races before too. And it's not the fault of the athlete.
Nope.
Like, what are you supposed to do?
It happened with the bucket carry on the men's side.
Oh, did it?
It's pouring out of someone had a bucket carry, and you could just see it like leaking through the lid.
Just right down his back.
Yeah. Wasn't intentional.
She did everything she could do to keep it from spilling. I hope she gets zero blowback, because this was not her fault.
Well, there were a couple people on social media trying to call her out, and I came to her defense on that. And same as Thomas Blanc and like a few others, they were like, no, she's not cheating. Watch this. Stop trying to create something out of nothing.
Could have affected the outcome of the race, though.
I agree. Yeah, this is on.
It could have.
It's just unfortunate that it was 9 seconds different. And
if those were 40-pound bags, visually, she couldn't have lost more than 5 pounds out of there. Now, 5 pounds is a lot. Don't get me wrong, but it's still like 15 pounds more than she should have had.
Right.
It's not fair to Lindsay. But once again, we've established Spartan's not ever going to be fair. So it sucks for Lindsay and it sucks for Esther, and Esther did nothing wrong.
Right.
And also you have to go back to the fact Lindsay specifically called out how good of a heavy carrier she was. So if you have even weights, you can't necessarily say that Esther wouldn't have done the same exact thing. And she would have been affected a little less than Lindsay was if they had the lighter ones as well. Obviously, it's a lot of, 2020 hindsight right there, but they both had the same conditions at the end of the day, and she edged her.
I would have dumped that out, let it fall, and then I would have refilled it 20 meters from being in sight again and come back with it full, and totally been within the bounds of like acceptable competition.
You would have had a convenient trip. Just they can't quantify it right there. You're like, let me just shuttle this back in.
Empty the other one too while you're at it.
BK.
What this and that.
Yeah.
You're fine.
But what about the rest of the race?
I actually didn't watch it.
What?
I was not interested.
Okay. Bracken, did you watch it?
Yeah.
Jesus, Rich. Okay.
It's just like a random beast. This to me was not a world championship.
It's still a really good race.
It wasn't. We made the comment like, this doesn't decide anything. Yes, the best people were there and the best people arguably won. Maybe Lindsay is not the recipient of that argument, but it still didn't decide. This wasn't a test of the best Spartan racer, but it was still an opportunity to watch the best people on earth, minus a few, throw down against each other. And for that, I'll always watch it.
You never get to see the top Europeans against the top Americans or North Americans, because Lindsay's Canada, unless it's at Trifecta Worlds or regular Spartan Worlds. That's the only time you get to see it.
And we did see it at Trifecta, so it's like, what is this? This is like an exhibition race.
I don't know.
I was so pumped that the video was clear and never cutting out. It just went the whole time.
The video was clear.
It was good.
The production value, pretty poor. The
had a good camera.
50% of the commentary booth, extremely bad. But the video itself, you could watch this thing on mute and be highly entertained. I think if they combine that signal strength with bringing the OCR report over to do graphics and commentary and the professional aspect, you would have had such a fantastic product.
I think the rest of the race, you had, Rich, since you didn't watch, basically Esther formed a 1.5-minute gap over the next 10K or so. Lindsay, as Bracken alluded to, mentioned she was like, I basically was just defeated at that point, which is understandable. She just had an 11.5
she
minute
won the day before
men's double carry, like disgusting. And she won yesterday's race, was, beat up from that. And she closed the gap to within like 5 seconds heading into the final, the gauntlet. Like, I think they had a single sandbag carry at the end, Atlas Stone, and then they went into do A-frame and the standard 4 obstacles at the end. And they're both on the A-frame cargo net at the same time. Slip wall, like right as Esther was getting off, Lindsay started climbing. They're both on the rig, maybe 3 rings behind. That's where Lindsay was. And Esther goes up to the spear throw, and she picks a lane and it doesn't have a spear. And she goes to the one to the left of it. Lindsay runs up to it. It doesn't have a spear available, the same exact one. She has to go to the right, and there's like 4 seconds. And Lindsay kind of trotted in. So that 9 seconds was really like a 3 or a 4 second gap. So not having a spear present at the end when like 10 people have finished the course at that point, it's not good.
You have one job at that station.
That was disappointing.
It's all not good. It's all not good. Like, I'm not surprised. I'm like, oh yeah, of course. Duh. Why would there be a spear?
But
there's no spear there should be a spear there, no spear target. And then you're like,
I nailed it.
They throw it.
Nothing but net.
3 targets, but only one of them's the right one. You better choose right.
Yeah, the other ones are like the Atkins ones that he had in Mexico that like break up open and won't stick in. Or hologram targets.
Hologram's not bad.
That'd be sick, bro.
Yeah, laser spear.
Basically the same as the pistol.
Yeah, but bottom
pistols.
Line, Esther did kind of what Lindsay did, where she got to the gauntlet at the end and just didn't look behind her. She's like, I'm just gonna close just how she did in the 3K. And I think that Esther, after getting third the day before, she might have had a little bit of some doubt creeping in. It's like, oh, Elisa beat me. Lindsay already beat me in here. She might have probably been a little bit nervous there, but she held on. And I thought it was a fantastic finish.
I have an idea.
Do it.
So should there next year be like a Sunday Spartan race? This is basically what this is, but like, you know how the athletes who stick around and get those podiums on Sunday, should they have a world championship like the Nick Rikers?
No, they're way bigger offenders than Nick Riker.
I'm not worried about that. I want a Hurricane Heat world champion.
Now we're talking. But like the sandbagger world title.
1,000 flutter kicks in the shallows for time.
Yep. Add it to the goofy games.
We'll not be doing that.
The athletes who are not as good as the best athletes, but have a bunch of podiums and stuff I want to know who the best of those guys are. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
You can only be invited if you have double-digit Sunday podiums on the year.
Yep.
On the year.
You have to and like only on Instagram, only post about the Sunday one. Don't even talk about the Saturday race that happened. And then like, people like, damn, this guy's like fucking good.
Are you giving out additional awards or only top 3 for those people?
We can promise them.
I think he's setting up a world title for himself, because I've been watching a lot of old races. I'm going back through all the live broadcasts, chilling on the treadmill right now and on the spin bike, adding that back in the game.
Let's go.
And you know who can get out and run some terrain for a while is Rich Ryan.
For a little while.
Damn.
Real little while.
Alabama, Jacksonville,
out there.
Seattle.
Out there.
This guy, West Virginia. This guy is up there charging through legit terrain. He is so stable. His hips, his shoulders, in line. Bop, 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 bop. I think he's coming for a Sunday title. I watched this, Rich, and I'm like, you haven't given this enough time. You could be a force in OCR.
Rich already has a Sunday title for DECA, so, or I guess it's Sunday podium.
I took that.
I'm thinking Seattle Beast this year, that North American Championship. I think you should actually put in one of your quality run sessions on terrain,
on some terrain
all year. I think you could legitimately be a player.
Kent's going to be there.
Kent's been talking about it. He's like, Seattle's
I'm going to be there.
You're going to go?
Yeah, why not?
Let's all go.
Should I go?
I'm going to do the first and the last. Jacksonville and Seattle.
Jack,
why not all? Oh, I guess that's not the series.
Why not all three? Because I'm not going to go to Big Bear in Utah.
Do that and come to Colorado for a few days after.
I did come to Colorado.
I did win a Sunday Super after West Virginia one time. So that's the West Virginia Championship.
I'm not joking here. Even if I look like I have a shit-eating grin on my face, I seriously think that you should go after the Seattle Beast this year.
Ooh, Nick Mass is going to be there though. No, there's no use of trying.
We'll all run for second. Kent and Mask can go do their thing.
Kent's not beating Nick Mask. I'm telling you right now.
No, Nick
shows up to Seattle and instantly he's heating up. Like he gets on and he just boom.
That's what he thinks. He's like, oh, that's my jam. Like, I'm gonna be good there just because it's there
in West Virginia. It's like Hoodie Mello. You just don't want Kent in Seattle or West Virginia.
It's true.
He's gonna have that Nathan Peak vest on. He was probably gonna have a man bun back. His Mudgear compression shirt slapped across the front. At least that'd be bow-legged, chugging through at 540 pace all day.
Some marshiness, and that's like a short one, right? What was Mask's time on that? Like 1 hour.
He was like 123,
right?
and it was a genuine half marathon.
Was it the same location?
Is it? Yeah. Is it going to be there?
Or Meadow something? I don't know. It was the equestrian one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what time of year? It's nice time of year, right? May?
September 14th. 2 weeks after my birthday.
And Rich will be 119.
Count me in. All right. And then on the men's side, Atkins won that race. Basilico taking second. Very close on that.
You didn't watch that one either?
No.
Gregory's the best runner in OCR.
Yeah. He'd be running a 117 in Seattle.
His form didn't change one time all day long.
Really? On the sand, he looked good too?
Except the sandbag.
One time.
That was the only time.
Running. Yeah. Running for him. He's unreal. He runs like a half marathon runner, which he is.
There were a few half marathon runners early on, and then Gregory turned into an OCR athlete, and the rest of them stayed as runners.
Was double sandbag just because with Gregory, I mean, he's had some trouble with actual obstacles, but he's also pretty slight. How much do you think that dude weighs?
140 probably.
140.
Yeah. He's a good heavy carrier. Very good, because his engine's so good and he's so stable as a runner.
Well, that's the story about OCR.
But that was sand.
Yeah.
It was just too much for him.
Gregory the sandbag carry was 40 minutes in the race, and he probably had a minute and a half lead by that point over the people who were actually contenders at the end.
And Atkins left ahead of him.
Yeah. And then it was very interesting. You'd see like from the drone footage or the silhouette of them in a far off view, Atkins just hunched over, hiking up this thing. Gregory's just trotting along. It was like very different form.
They went several miles after that carry of just matching each other.
They could
Neither
play tag.
Could do anything.
They were so close to each other.
And then the second it opened back up, Gregory's just so fast, and he can get back to it no matter what he's done. It's really impressive to watch.
And about 15K in, so like 5K left in the course roughly, Gregory's like, it's mine. They're out of the dunes. They go back into the flat part, and he put 30 seconds a mile for 3 straight miles. It was disgusting. And that's probably where you mentioned Atkins' shoes not helping him out right there.
No. If you had to go do a 3-mile tempo on a dirt road, I wouldn't choose the Hoka 10.9s.
Very, very, very silly looking, those ones. Yeah, if you those listening haven't seen them, just give it a Google, and you'll be like, those can't be real, but they are real.
They look like your boy Scott Jurek post.
For sure, they do. I bet they had a ton of fun with those ones. All right,
Rich, did you see the finish?
I saw nothing.
So you don't know what happened in like the last 2 minutes of the race?
Nope.
Okay. Bracken, what happened?
I mean, if we're spoiling everything.
Yeah.
We had a missed spear throw.
Oh, really?
Atkins came through, hit his, and got through the finish line like 20 whatever seconds ahead.
Saw him toss those birds at him, though.
Gregory had like a 300-meter penalty loop, and he had about a minute.
He took off
so
at like
fast.
440 pace down.
I was like, they're gonna collide on the way out.
Oh, so he was up like 2 minutes.
Hamming.
Huge gap.
It probably took him. I would guess it took him a minute 10 to do the penalty loop.
Yeah,
because
he had a minute. He had a minute and 5 gap at A-frame. They had a timing mat there, and Atkins came in a minute and 5 after him. So Atkins probably got through the rig. Gregory almost fell off the rig also. So Atkins legitimately probably 10 seconds faster on the rig based on how he went in the 3K. And then he just gripped it and ripped it. He just threw it super quick.
I thought. I got nervous as he was standing there because he took
Gregory was just standing there, and you could see it. It was like pointed vertical. I'm like, he's gonna miss this. It's not going in. Like it was literally like a 60 degrees off a vertical instead of nice and aligned. But
it was heartbreaking.
It really was. I felt so bad. Like I was so happy about how close of a finish it was. I was like screaming at my screen because it was so exciting, but I felt so bad for Gregory because he did everything he needed to do to win that race. And he was the better athlete on that day, in my opinion, besides one single thing.
And yet it was, in a way, satisfying to see Atkins come back around to be the recipient of a spear throw.
Yeah. Because what did he have? He had a double failure in Killington the first year behind Albin. He should have won. Like if he hit one of those, he would have won the world championship. And then multiple times in Tahoe, he missed it. Multiple times in national series, probably like 10 times in national series. It's like still ends up on the podium, but he's within 90 seconds or however long it takes you to do 30 burpees of getting back into it.
Gregory handled that finish line very well.
Yeah.
He had every right to just pout and leave, and he was a classy gentleman about it.
I don't think everybody would have done what he did. No.
Lost a world title. Tough.
Yeah, it is. That was nasty.
Himself.
Yeah.
Kicking himself about that lost world title.
And it was very interesting because the day before, Atkins was talking about how stupid it was that the lasers, it's like, oh, Stink's getting stuck there for 20 seconds. And then it's like, now you're okay with someone having to lose more than 20 seconds because they missed a simple obstacle like that involved aiming. So
Spear's always been dumb. Spear's always been dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but it was like interesting how his tone changed because he benefited from it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but regardless,
part of the race.
It's good that he finally got on the good side of his spear.
You got a storm coming in here, Jack? You're slowly fading out of sight here.
No,
I have to go out. It's his time where he like gets an alert on his phone or something like that, where it's safe from the calls
from work already. So
there's enough cloud cover that Jack can go out there in short sleeves.
Yeah, I ran without sunscreen a couple of days ago.
Damn.
It was about like 3:45 p.m. The sun sets at
midlife crisis.
4:30. Yeah,
our guy is living.
I know.
We have an intervention soon.
Living. All right, should we talk about our list?
We've gotta.
Let's bring it. I'm gonna pull it up.
Actually, real quick, what was the best race of the weekend of those 4?
I mean, I would say Veejay's race, men's 3K, because I didn't watch the other one.
Go Birds.
Go Birds, baby.
Yeah. What do you think of Bracken?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, first of all, the 3K was built up as the spotlight race, so it had the most eyes on it, and they were the most exciting races. The female and male 21K got exciting at times, but there was a lot of slogging through the desert in between.
Yeah.
So yeah, 3K were the races of the weekend. I
agree with you.
Let's bring up our list. This will be interesting to see because we have talked about what could have been?
Yeah, what could have been?
What could have been? So we're looking at our list then, and like what the real kind of players are, who kind of shift things around, who increased their stock, if there's anything that really sticks out, or if there's any names that we really need to add to this list.
And this isn't really off of only Spartan Worlds. We haven't updated this all year.
We haven't updated this all year, right? So we've waited till this moment. In the past, when we created this list, Spartan World Championships kind of carried the most weight. OCR World Championships was directly under that. And then it was kind of a smattering of regional championships, national series races, maybe one-off races here or there to kind of collect this. It's now it's like, I get like how does that change from this year? Like, do we still think that Spartan championships are the most impressive in a year where also OCR World Championships was pretty watered down, and we had this FISO championship? Now, like, where does that weigh in? Like,
I think it was this, and now it went down to here. But the gap remained the same because this was OCR World's chance to move up, and they didn't get the fields either. So unfortunately, I think it remains the same. I think World's Toughest took on a greater prominence for me this year.
Interesting.
But you were missing like Tyler Veerman, Mark Gaudet, Atkins, like a bunch of the.
Can't even say missing Atkins anymore because he hasn't done World's Toughest in so long.
That's fine.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
How are we? Is FISO on par? I think that field at FISO.
Oh yeah.
Was better, definitely than OCR World Championships, but maybe.
I think it was in line with what we saw in the 3K for Spartan Worlds. Like you had more North Americans showing up.
I'm putting it on importance level with a Savage race.
Hater.
But the field depth was phenomenal.
No way. It's got to be more. It's got to be like the second or third most.
This year, I think that it was the
second
biggest race of this year based on who showed up.
Not unlike TMX. I think that's fair for this year.
Yeah, it's TMX. They created a title, held a one-off event, and a bunch of people showed up. Huge field, important World Championship.
I mean, but they did have like
Ian said so. Adamson, to be clear.
But they did have like you had to like qualify for teams, like that, like, and like they did get a good turnout. I guess it's too soon to tell. Higher than Savage Race.
Yeah.
Okay.
TMX.
I'm glad we'll put on the TMX up. That's
right, let's just list people instead.
All right, so I'm saying that 3 people moved up on the women's side.
2 definitely.
I think that Esther and Ida each move up ahead of Claude. And I think Lindsay moves up off the list.
Lindsay's on her own.
Yeah, she is now the gold standard.
She's number 0.
She's champion. Like in combat sports, champion is not a ranked number 1 contender as the number 1 spot. She's the all-time contender. Don't even put her on the list. It's not fair to anyone else.
Let's just talk about our list real fast, just before we get ahead of ourselves. Right now, in our top 5, it's Lindsay Webster, Zuzana Kakumova, Nicole Miracle's 3rd.
Kakumova.
How do you say it?
Almost.
Kakumova.
I like that better.
Amelia Boone was 4th. Corinne Carlson is 5th. Rhea's in 6th. Claude Goldbach is 7th. Ida is 8th. Esther is 9th. Chris Rogloski is 10th. Outside of that, we didn't see a lot of people this year outside of maybe Alyssa Petrova. But just with that, like Lindsay, no movement.
Ida could be 4th.
Goes further away. Zuzana versus Nicole. Nicole, I think, increased her stock with an OCR World Championship win.
Nicole shows up to Abu Dhabi. I might make a change. I still don't think so at the moment.
I think Nicole's better than Zuzana. But I can't say that because of the year she had, she deserves to leapfrog. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like in my heart, she's the second best OCR female athlete we've ever seen.
Yeah.
But Zuzana still has not done anything wrong in this year compared to what Nicole did right to be passed. I don't know. My vote is Nicole's the number 2 all time. But I see how that would cause issue. But I still say Nicole is past her.
It's weird because Nicole won the OCR Worlds 3K and she won the FISO 15K. So it's like, on paper, that should have. You've got a very strong argument. I don't know. No, I might have talked myself into it. I'd be okay with putting her 2, but it's such a toss up at this point.
What do you think?
It stinks because Zuzana's 44, so she's not her best date. She's not going to do much to increase it. Although this
is a body of work though. Zuzana has how many Spartan World Championships?
Zuzana went like 50 for 50 in her Spartan career to start it off with winning.
Yeah, but
she was the best though. Like you had to get past her in that era to then be the best. I don't think Nicole's ever reached that level, Mostly because
Jacksonville and
era.
Alabama and stuff. No one was beating her
because of
an
era.
era. That's 2 races, dude. Where I know. Well,
19.
in terms of era, like Nicole will never have that like distinction that Zuzana has because of Lindsay.
But Nicole will have more titles.
Nicole could potentially have more titles.
She probably already has more titles.
Well, because there's 10,000 different world championships at this point.
Nicole's gonna beat Zuzana at a technical obstacle based race, like a FISO or OCR
or
Worlds.
fast.
Probably
the only test is going to be
Zuzana actually has some wheels. I've seen some covers, and I was always thinking she was just like a great grinder uphill. She's
fast. Yeah, she's a great downhill runner.
Yeah,
you can't be a bad downhill runner, or a great downhill runner and be slow. But they're the 3 best. The order is going to be infinitely debatable.
Where are you going, Rich?
I need 1 more year.
1 more year. I'm happy with that.
I think Nicole absolutely can cement herself as number 2, no matter what Zuzana's done next year.
In terms of who's a better racer head to head, like, yeah, then
because it's like
Nicole in the prime, but that's not really what we're arguing. That's not what.
No. And it's like Nicole earned some impressive accolades this year, and like we didn't talk about her Pan Am championship, but who did she really beat in that? So it's like that doesn't really help.
She got a second place at the FISO behind Ida. Won the OCR World Championship in a not great field, but beat Lindsay. Yeah, 1, 2. Did she just win one of the 3K? Oh yeah, and had a couple of not great 3K races as well.
Yeah, Big Bear.
So there wasn't like dominance.
And she is
at this level.
She's a couple years after injury. I know everyone bounces back differently. It's like if she gets back to old Nicole, we saw glimpses of it without question.
For sure,
like
for sure.
This year, that's why I think next year she'll firmly cement it. But I still think at this point, I'd go with Zuzana just personally.
I need 1 more year.
Good.
They're both number 1.5 or 2.5, I guess. But
that's a BK. That's a BK answer right there. BK's list is all 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D.
Yeah,
we're too personally involved. And then I put Ida somewhere between 4th and 5th.
So the next names we have Amelia Boone, Karen Carlson, Rhea Coble, Claude Godbot, and then it's Ida. Ida getting a world championship at FISO. We did not see her at OCR WC.
Not this year. She was too busy doing a local race with me.
And then a 4th place finish. She did win that
Mexico.
Surus.
Yeah.
She had 3K success.
Surus Stadium. She did not win a 3K race, correct?
She did. Stratton last year. She beat Lindsay.
Oh, no. I meant this year in the series, the series.
Mexico.
Oh, she did win that Mexico race?
Yeah.
The Pan Am?
No, Nicole won that. We're talking about the San Luis Potosí.
Okay. So she got a national series win. She got a world championship, a top 5 at the most important race of the year we're calling it that.
Ida's number 4. Like, I'm moving her there. Sorry, Amelia.
So you think this FISO World Championship is enough to?
I think she is so diversified in her success at this point. Like Amelia, you could probably even ask her. She was in a weaker era. And I think what Ida has done over the past few years, along with a good string of success even before then, across many different race formats, I think she's done enough to get moved into 4th.
Going 4 spots? Because of FISO?
I think we underrated her a little bit last year.
If we look ahead of her, Cloud, for as great of a champion as she was, really has 2 results to her resume. Like, name her other highlight reel results.
I don't know.
Well, she won the early national series races and stuff. And yeah, I know it was early age, but she did win 18 of 20 career races, including 2 world championships. Like, was an Olympian, and then she tore her ACL and just never came back.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll definitely go past Claude.
Rhea, I think that what Rhea and Ida are doing at the in-between distances the Sprint Super Beast are pretty comparable. And now you add in the ability to go 3K through Beast versus Sprint through Ultra. I think what's happening here is we may end up needing an Ultra distance versus sub Ultra.
We don't do that.
But for now, I think that's the spot. I think the debate is she above or below Rhea?
Because I mean, we're talking about what is Ida's best finish outside of a 3K distance?
She got 7th in Spartan Worlds Abu Dhabi Beast a couple years ago.
What was Rhea's best finish at Spartan World Championships?
Like 5th at Tahoe.
And with 2 WTM titles?
I know, but she has a FISO and an OCR Worlds title and many second places or podiums.
So she has 2 world titles.
Rhea stepped into that domain and
one is
well.
New. Well,
2-2 in World Championship.
OCR Worlds is not new. I understand FISO is, but
they're tied with titles, and Ida has way more podium finishes at Worlds.
At big races, yeah.
At Worlds?
OCR Worlds.
Yeah, she has several second places.
3K.
Ultra.
Right.
I'm okay if we make another call here and say, give me another year.
Yeah, I don't know. We need to see what happens with this FISO. That might age very well. Right, but to give that, to like have it be the same weight as a world's toughest.
I just look at who the best in the era is. And if they're all there and you beat them, that holds a lot of weight in my book.
Although, to Rich's point, we've said that Rhea is the greatest ultra distance OCR athlete of all time.
That's why, but we put her behind Amelia because Amelia has the Spartan race world champion.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I guess I'm happy with her here for right now. Give me one more year.
Yeah. She moved up a spot. This is a hard list. This is a good list to get on. Like, I
would have let her go up to 4.
I don't see that.
Here's the issue with aging. The older you get, the less good the early years look. Because you can look down this list now and name 5 or 6 women who could have won the years Claude or Amelia won.
For sure.
And you can't play that game because there's no way to prove or disprove, but it's hard not to think it.
Yeah.
That Ida's just better.
It's like, would they have renamed the Cy Young Award after a modern day pitcher if, he was pitching in today's world or they were pitching back then? It's like, you can't say that someone's going to throw 800 career complete games or something, because that's just not how it is anymore. And the early days of Spartan are not the way that it is anymore in terms of depth.
So if we went back with this field right now, it took everyone in their prime and ran a 3K, a 10K, a beast, and an ultra, it would not be chalk. You would have Amelia, I would say Karen and Claude move back behind a bunch of these women in most of those races.
Yeah, but that's not what we're doing.
Can't play this game. Yeah, it's tough.
That's what I'm saying. This is tough. So, which is why I'd be happy with her in 4th, because I think she would give it to some of these women in these distances. But
I don't think the titles add up, though.
I would let her stay in 7th for another year and see what happens.
So
who knows? Maybe Amelia comes back and wins everything next year.
Maybe. I'm cool with her here at 7th, because now does Esther also move up? She has the Trifecta World Championship. Does she move up in front of Ida?
No.
Okay. Why not?
Esther's the all-time leading podium, and I know that includes a lot of local races, but it also includes multiple European championships, World Championship podiums, wins World Champions win, Trifecta World Championship wins and podiums, like one of 3 athletes ever to have multiple wins against Lindsay in Spartan race. Like, her resume is crazy.
Is Trifecta the best race this year for OCR? Is that the one that we need to put above everything else?
I don't necessarily think it is.
You would put the 3K?
In terms of like best battles? Yeah. The trifecta's up there.
What about depth
No,
of
like
field?
most prestigious.
I'd still go to 3K, in my opinion, in Abu Dhabi.
Okay. BK?
Esther. I'm going to say the same thing. She could be up to 4th. I don't know which spot she gets. I really don't, because it's too convoluted right now. But yeah, she could be up to 4th.
Esther, the past 2 years, 2nd place in the Super in Abu Dhabi. She wins the Beast. She gets 3rd in the 3K. She has the trifecta of distances of world championships in her belt. She has the most Spartan podiums ever by a female. She's won those trifecta races that we've talked about. She beat Nicole in a trifecta race as well a few years ago.
Okay, you're right.
She doesn't have the world title, right? She has
no. 2019 was against Nicole. So we're looking, and take out COVID, we're looking at 4 seasons.
So for 4 years, she has been, without a doubt, the 2nd best on the planet, right?
Right. I think that's
for Emma for a
so
little
if you
while.
Look ahead of her, number 1 on the list, best on the planet. Number 2 was best on the planet. Number 3 had an argument for best, if not 2nd best on the planet. Amelia Boone was best on the planet. And then 5, 6, 7, 9, and below were never in the argument for 2nd best on the planet.
I'd be comfortable putting her 5.
What'd you say?
I'd be comfortable putting her 5 right now.
So by that argument, she is at worst 5th, in that she's been 2nd best on the planet in the best era of women's OCR in terms of top heaviness for the last 4 years.
What's her best title?
Trifecta or 21K. Right here
also,
Beast doesn't count, dude. Sunday
counts.
Don't. That definitely doesn't count.
It doesn't count any less than trifecta.
It would count. It would count the same as like a national series race.
Okay, which of these women have beat Lindsay in a national series beast?
Sure, that's what I mean. Like, it's a good. I mean, it's good.
But between Lindsay and Esther, they've run over 150 races and they've only missed the podium combined about 15 times. So 90% of the time, they're ending up on the podium, and most of the time Lindsay's shown up. It's at national series races, and you guys probably don't realize how many national series there are across Europe. There were 6 of them simultaneously a couple of years ago. Esther would just show up and win like all of them.
All right, I say she's 5.
A lot of those.
I'm fine with her 5. One more year, I'm putting her 4th.
She's
got to win some titles.
She only has one world title.
I know. I think she will.
Rich, you good with 5?
5th all time. Like these 3,
we know she's at best 4. So now is she better than Amelia at her peak? Is she better than Rhea?
Like, she better than Corinne Carlson?
It's like the body of the body of work, not the ability to be good.
Her body of work is enormous and has surpassed Corinne's.
Okay, I'm with it. Let's do it. Just because all like the national series stuff and abroad and
and so
a world title that like in the trifectas are going to actually age better. You know, those
you
are
put
going
all
to
these
look
athletes.
Better.
Yeah, you put out all these athletes on the start line. She's probably going to be attached to the front pack right from the start. Like, isn't scared of anybody and has beaten. She's beaten every. Well, not only she faced Amelia, but she's beaten the 3 women ahead of her besides Amelia.
I think everyone behind her, it would take their best day to beat her.
Yeah.
It takes everyone's best day to beat her.
Esther came over to Tahoe during the frozen year and she DNF'd because of the hypothermia.
BK, you guys are in the hypothermia group chat.
Finished. No big deal.
Yeah. And then
52nd place.
So Karina's in 6th. I'll just give you one more stat on her. I know that she's the one who you guys would probably move down, but they had that Madrid 3K and she won by 1:20. She beat Susanna. She beat Janka. Like, she has all these I know that it's like she doesn't get the press, and I'd be fine moving Ida ahead of her, whatever, but I still think she belongs in like that top 7 to 8 based on career accolades, and she's still doing it. If she came over to Abu Dhabi, I mean, Janka got 5th and she beat Janka by like 4 minutes in a 3K, and we saw what she did all year, and like, she's really good.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm more interested in this next one. Chris Rogloski.
It's so tough.
Like she's 9.
I mean, she gets another world title.
2. Oh yeah, 1.
She's tied with Rhea for the world's toughest mutter titles, right? And she holds the record for mileage. So it's like you can argue she's better than Rhea.
I think so. I think
Ultra.
That yes, I would put Chris above Rhea.
And it's crazy because it's like Rhea we saw her so much on all the TV coverage and stuff, but it's just a different coverage these days. Like Rhea was the face that when they had like the 4 or 5 people on the pro team for a year or two, it was like Rhea was the prominent one.
The difference between them is Rhea didn't succeed at other races.
And Chris has OCR World 2nd places, 3rd places.
She won a 3K. She won a 3K this year. Beat Ida in it.
She did. She got a 3K podium, like less than a minute behind Ida, and then 2 weeks later runs 90 miles of world's toughest motor and wins it. Like the range is stupid.
Is Chris above Karen?
Her highlights are better. Her career numbers are lower.
Is Chris another one of those one more year, and we're sort of like, I can't help but think about what she's done in High Rocks as well. And, because she does everything. And I'm trying not to let non-OCR events impact it.
Purely OCR, what's her hihighlights?
World's toughest mutter record, 2-time champ.
2-time champ.
Many national series, 3rd places at various distances. Like Mexico, she got 2nd in the Beast. She got 2nd in the 3K. Mexico again.
Won the national series race this year.
Her national series results
she won
are now rivaling Reyes.
She won. That's what I said. She beat Ida.
Yeah. It's got a good argument moving her into 6 or 7.
From pure world titles, she's matched Rhea's best.
Yeah,
and she has the other end of the spectrum, so she's ahead.
She's above Rhea.
Then she's got to be 6 too, because she has world titles ahead of that.
Agreed. Like, I think one more year and we're talking about her like in the top 3.
Top 3, like kicking out Nicole or Zuzana?
I mean, maybe. Depends on what happens with these formats. Like, what if she's
getting
like
into
a
Ryan
15K?
Atkins territory? Sorry, go ahead, Rich.
That's all. I was just saying, like, what if she wins like a 15K title somewhere? I don't know if she is that interested in doing that stuff, but
she was only like a minute behind Lindsay in a 15K, where Lindsay ran failure free.
Yeah. So she's approaching the Ryan Atkins argument, which is, again, would Hobie or Albin or Killian or Cody all beat him at their best? Yes, but he can do everything they can't and everything they can. And he's always the next best. That's her. Like, would Nicole beat her on any given distance other than ultra on any given day? Probably. But Chris has done more.
Not a guarantee.
Well, Chris just can't run with Nicole yet.
Yeah.
No, but like the 3K, if it's heavy enough, like Nicole was in that race that Chris won.
She beat her head to head this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think she's going to have the Atkins type career.
And Chris is also still in her 20s. Like all the women around her.
She's just starting.
Yeah. She's got a few more years to catch up. And I'm moving Alyssa Petrova up.
A 2nd place finish. I'm with that.
3 straight podiums, 3 straight years.
So she behind Claude or above?
Well, Claude has 2 world championships.
2 world titles.
I know, BK, you're just from that era, from your era. You're just
I'm denigrating my era.
I know, that's what I'm saying. You're doing it too much. Yeah. You're doing it too much. There's still 2
she's behind Claude?
You showed up. I mean, yeah, does she pat? How many world podiums does Faye have? Like 1?
The one against
Faye
Lindsay
is every bit as good as her.
Yeah. I think Faye has like a 4th.
Did she get 2nd or 3rd? That
maybe 2 thirds or 2 fourths and a 3rd. I know she has a 3rd and a 4th a different year.
Faye lost the burpee off.
Yeah.
Faye lost the burpee off. Okay.
But the year, like Alyssa got 3rd the year that Faye got 4th, because Lindsay and Zuzana were top 2 for 4 straight years at Tahoe. And I think that Alyssa had one, Miriam had one, Nicole snuck in there at the end to replace Zuzana. I don't think that she had multiple world titles. And then you had Rachel Paquette, finishing third in Tahoe in 2015. I think Faye only has one. But she has a ton of national series success, which
right.
Like it plays into it. I would split the difference. Claude,
but again,
then Elisa, then
no
Faye.
success outside Spartan.
For Alyssa?
No, for Faye.
For Faye. Because Elisa
Faye was actually obstacle phobic almost.
Yeah.
Elisa was second behind Nicole at FISO and the 15K.
Yeah.
Faye now it's DNF'd out of obstacle fear.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm with that.
At Spartan, she's every bit as good as Alyssa.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
So it's definitely one of those. Yeah.
Prime Faye was really, really hard to beat at Spartan.
Yeah. Now
but watching Alyssa through obstacles this weekend, that was never Faye. She was a runner and carrier.
Yeah. Got out hot, was fit enough to hang on and battle for podium spots. But yeah. I think so. Delete number 15 right there. So we've got 18 people on the list. I think we need to add Yanka to the list personally.
Make the case.
Unless we're stopping at 18.
She's got to go ahead of Becca.
Yeah, it's one of those things you do body of work. It's like Emma is going to beat, like, if she's 17, she's going to beat 12 to 15 people ahead of her. But she was only a season and a half.
She has a world podium.
Yeah. No, Emma didn't. She got fourth. It was Lindsay, Annie, and Elisa.
Oh, right. Did Emma not race it last year?
Not last year. No.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Esther got second.
So she has a regional championship.
Yeah. And Emma was in second, and then she failed the the rig, and then fell to fourth because of that nasty sand dune.
So I put her one ahead of Becca. I put her in between Emma and Becca.
Well, Becca has a
OCR World second and a Spartan second.
Yeah. What's Yanka's best finish?
Fifth, 2 straight years.
Okay, you're right.
And Yanka has like 60 something podiums in her life. She proved herself on US soil against some top US talent.
She has no regional title or world podium.
She's all body of work.
She's behind Rebecca, in my opinion, but she's in the top 20. It would be like her and probably like an Alex Walker. Or they're like a couple just outside the list at the moment, but I'd put Yanka right here.
Okay. So do we put a number 20?
Sure.
I don't think that what are we talking with Yanka? Like, what are we pointing at? Like, what are we talking about? Are we just adding someone for the sake of adding somebody, or like, is there?
Let me pull it up.
Pull it up.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, all right, well, Ricky finished third at FISO. She has a world podium. Like, does that?
Alex Walker, top 5 at Spartan.
Right, like, where
Yanka's done it twice, but yeah.
Like, I don't like a 5th place at a 3K sand. I don't know, dude.
All right. Yanka, what has she done?
Did you get that mouth near that microphone?
I'm just looking it up, sir.
We need to get on to the dudes, man. Come on. I don't like it. I think there needs to be a certain amount of accomplishment for anybody who makes this list, because then, like, if we're going to start doing people who get like top 5, we need to go back years and years. Like, we need more time.
It's getting to the point where you have to have world championship podiums to be on the list.
Or regional championships.
Or one regional championship, yeah. I agree with that. It's harsh, but I agree. Stern but fair.
We're talking about an all-time list here.
Okay, so here's where I struggle the most, because I now firmly believe Ryan Atkins has the best career of all time.
Let's stack them up
real quick. Yanka has 34 national series podiums across Europe and North America in national series.
She's the next best.
Yeah, that's why if we're putting people in the top 20, she's in the top 20. Like, if we have to add 1 or 2 names, she's one of those 2 names that gets added.
So she gets a podium she's on?
She gets a world podium she's on.
Yeah.
She gets a regional championship she's on.
Most people don't do top 18 lists. That's what I was saying.
Does anyone above her not have one of those things so far on our list?
Rose, maybe.
You're right. No, Rose has OCR Worlds.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. All right. I'm fine with that. That's
we're
fine.
set.
Top 18
We might have to
for
do
now.
it. We might have to see. We might have to boot somebody on the men's. I'm not
Come
sure.
join us in December 2024 when we amend the list.
We don't need to. It doesn't need to be 20, Jack.
I know.
It needs to be the
just
best.
numerically, it seems to fit better, but I'm fine moving on to the guys.
Numerically, it's fine, but then we're opening up a whole thing. We're gonna have to do like 50 then. Our top men: Hobie Call sits
I
at
like
the
the
top.
asterisk.
Ryan Atkins is second. John Albin's third. Robert Killian third. Cody Moat, or what? Robert Killian fourth. Cody Moat fifth. Hobie versus Atkins. Let's stack up. Let's stack the resumes. Hobie has 2 world championships. Spartan. What's his next best thing?
Warrior
he has 3
second
for
place.
Spartan.
Warrior Dash second place. What else did he get on Spartan? Was he on other podiums?
He only did 4 of them, and he got like 7th one year because he had that dental procedure like a week before, and
It's no joke.
But he won the whole national series that entire year.
Is this a no-brainer?
Ryan Atkins.
This might be a no-brainer.
What's he done at this point that he's
Body
missing?
of work.
It's Tom Brady. Do you remember that list
that
I showed you earlier about like all of his credentials? What hasn't he won? Which world championship has he not won? Now it's podiums for a couple of them. But he got that trifecta finally, and he got the 3K world championship. There's nothing he is missing that is still a race that exists.
Got the Beast World Championship.
The only way I can sleep with making any decisions on this list is to make it like quarterbacks. Tom Brady is the greatest ever, even though Dan Marino or Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers were all better throwers of the football than him. They were more spectacular quarterbacks at times throughout history, but he's just the best to ever do it for his career. And it's not really debatable anymore, even though they may have been better than him in any given snapshot. And that's what NFL has just embraced. That's what it is. And he's Ryan
Atkins. Yeah, all races. Hobie has 8 wins. Atkins has 7 wins head-to-head. Cross Battle Frog, Warrior Dash World Championship, Spartan Race, everything. So basically 500. It sucks that Hobie didn't have a longer career because the sport came into it later on. I think Hobie was more dominant. Ryan's more accomplished in terms of career accolades.
Hobie left in the middle.
He did a couple of years, basically. Yeah.
And that's costing him right now. Hobie is still a more spectacular individual athlete to me in some of his freakish things. But Ryan Atkins is just better across the board.
This is LeBron Jordan right now. This is what we're talking about. We're moving LeBron to number 1.
Yeah. Ryan Atkins is the best, has the best OCR career of all time. And it's not even close.
This is a no-brainer. And I think we got held up on the world championship part, is just having 2 versus 1. But now that in the biggest one, but now with all the other accolades he's amassed along the way, I think Ryan Atkins is the best to ever do it.
Yeah. And I think we get hung up, and maybe I get hung up on the fact that on anyone's, if you gave them all their best day, I think he wins the least amount of times of anyone in the top. For sure, the top 6. And I would even put Woods up into that conversation.
Right.
Or if you have them all on their best day, he wins the least, but he has the highest average finish of any distance, any race for a decade straight.
He has the lowest chance of missing the podium, no matter what type of course is thrown at him.
Yeah, he doesn't have to pop a race. It's not about like him at his best. It's him at his worst is still almost always the second best person on the planet.
And how funny is it? Like earlier this year, we're like, we're starting to see him get hurt. Like he's not a fan of this 3K. Is this kind of like the last? And then he just comes out and podiums at Trifecta Worlds, wins the Beast this past weekend, gets on the podium for the 3K. It's like,
this is a down year for him, and it's the one that boosted him into the number 1 athlete of all time.
And he won the OCR Worlds 15K, got 3rd in the OCR Worlds 3K. Like he's just checked everything off now.
Like, if you put the 2 resumes next to each other,
you can't.
It it would be clear. It'd be like, oh, this guy has to be it.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Which now means it's up to Veejay or
seriously, like a Rylan.
Rylan are the only two candidates now to usurp him for a long time.
Veerman.
Sergey could, with the World Championship coming back to the Middle East.
No,
you don't think so?
I don't think so.
You think that Sergey has less of a chance than Rylan at this point in OCR specifically?
Yeah, I don't think his ceiling's high enough.
He'd have to win like the next 3 years in a row. Okay. Maybe 2 in a row.
I think he's like Ryan in that he needs a lot to go right to win a championship, but unlike Ryan, more can go wrong for Sergey.
We see him finish in these championship races like off of the podium. Like not like anything against him, but things that we don't see Atkins do. Like we look at the full body, like he I think there's been opportunities for him to match Atkins over the course of his career, but he hasn't always come through the way Atkins has. So it would take, and he's like early 30s, 33-ish.
But all these guys won their world titles at 37 to 39. So
right.
And honestly, on my list, I wouldn't have Sergey. I would have him behind Hunter and Woods. So I don't even have him up as high as we do. Yeah, he just has that world championship. If you take that away, he's not as good as those three.
Sergey has a better OCR Worlds two times. His top 2 finishes are better than either Hunter or Woods' finish, and they were both in the race with him. And he has a Spartan Race World Championship.
I know. And I think his top is higher.
European Spartan Championship.
Yeah, I think if you put Hunter in Europe, he'd have like 7 European championships.
Yeah, but it's not worth it.
So anyways, I'm just saying that, no, I don't see Sergey as a threat to the GOAT status.
Yeah, to the GOAT status. Like Veejay is the clear pick on who's the biggest threat right now. Like unless John Albin comes back to OCR and does what he does for a couple more years.
Which he won't.
No.
Yeah. So could you see him doing that in his late 30s?
No.
Why?
You think he's permanently done?
Yes. I could see him coming back, but not full. Okay. He would dabble.
I'm surprised he's not going to Tough Mudder. Like 80,000.
Said he might.
Oh, he said he might? Okay.
He put a poll on his Instagram story saying, "What's next for me? What do you think's next?" And that was one of like the 3 options.
Now you know the payouts. Like that's what I heard from him. It's like
$80,000.
Why not? That funds a year of training.
Yeah, seriously.
Better. Or spending your money poorly.
What do you get second? It's like 30 for second or something.
32. Yeah.
It's crazy. So the next interesting one here is Veejay Jones at 6, adding a Spartan World title to his name, 2 OCR 3K championships. The names in front of him are Cody Moat, Robert Killian.
He's a better obstacle racer than either one of them. But from a pure title standpoint, you might have to give him another year.
He's in the 1 more year category. It's close.
He's better than them at obstacle racing. Yeah. I don't think that's up for debate.
Pan American Championship.
He could go to 3 right now. I mean, to 4 right now. But it would be controversial.
I think that's fair.
1 more year.
Give him a FISO World Championship. It'll be no doubt.
No doubt.
It will be no doubt.
Let him win 1 more Savage. No doubt.
No doubt.
Serious Arena. Yeah.
So I have him as the 4th greatest obstacle course racer of all time, but he doesn't quite probably win that in the court of public opinion.
It's like a
a lot of time.
You know, Cody does have an OCR Worlds podium, actually, now that I think about it. And Killian ventured off into Tough Mudder, and I think he got 4th. Did he get moved up that year when Woods had the issue? So he got 3rd at OCR Worlds?
I don't know if he got 3rd or not. Veejay's been punished for being a sub-marathon distance savant.
Yeah.
We moved.
Whereas so dominant.
Killian and Cody are rewarded for being a marathon distance savant.
Yeah. I think Killian winning like the Stadium Series and running 105 miles, the world's toughest mudder, and going on like a 3-year run when he never missed a national series podium, no matter what course it was, how often, like his body of work at this moment is better Cody Moat, 2 world championships, never finished worse than, I think, 5th at Spartan Worlds, like in 8 attempts. Body of work's just there. No, I know Veejay has a very, very strong resume, and I could easily see Veejay moving into 4th place next year if he goes on a run. But I think at this point, keep him in 6. He's close.
Sergey remains the same, with really not doing much to improve his status this season. Then we have Sergey Perelygin. Is that how they were saying it?
Perelygin.
No, I don't care. Is it they were saying it different, Jack? They were saying,
I don't know if they're saying it right. They were saying a lot of things different.
They're saying a lot of things different. Yeah. We got Sergey in 7th, Hunter McIntyre in 8th, Ryan Woods 9th, Tyler Veerman 10th.
Not really change.
Kempson could be above that now. Kempson could have passed Veerman.
For what?
Palmerton and
second place in the Savage Series. That's balling to you.
They both have the same number of OCR Worlds titles for 15K. Kempson has better top finishes at the National Series for Spartan, like throughout his career.
We're arguing against ourselves last year if this is what we're doing. I don't think like, what happened this year.
No one's changed. We had our reasons for putting them there.
Who had a better year this year?
I don't think anybody in terms of improving their lifetime stock.
Couple people lifetime stock.
I mean, Kempson adds a National Series to it.
Yeah, but Blue Mountain, you had Tyler.
Well, last year. I'm saying this year because Kempson won Palmerton.
Palmerton, you're right. Yeah,
that's the
thing. He beat our GOAT.
Yeah.
Head to head, we don't count. We don't count head to head.
I don't think they've done enough at this point to merit going up.
I wanted on the record that I said Ryan Kempson passed into 10th all time.
We can do that because what was Tyler Veerman's best result this season for OCR?
Third at Big Bear, and Kempson had a 1st in Palmerton.
Is that enough to jump? It could be enough to jump.
They both missed significant time this year, so we are well within our rights to not move them. But I'm voting that Kempson's.
You know what I think it was? Veerman's OCR World Championship is better than Kempson's OCR World Championship.
When he won.
Mm-hmm. Like that was the year I think Logan got 2nd or 3rd, or Igor was up there. That was the year where there was almost nobody at it.
Listen, Logan's a tough out, and you don't take that away from anyone who's ever battled him.
We could put BK on that OCR World Championship podium if we're doing this thing.
Yeah, we're looking at number 16 right here.
Quick. We're going to get to his name quick.
2 names that we have Angel listed right here.
He's got to
keeping that the same, or are we okay do we want to move that National Series podium win above Veerman, or are we just sticking with what we got? Because that would be the thing that would change the two.
I don't think they've done enough to move the needle this year. I'd keep them the same.
Okay.
I vote don't move. For change up.
All right.
For the Graham.
Rich, decide.
2nd place Savage, though. Pretty good. Kempson has 2 National Series wins now. Veerman has 0. Veerman has World's Toughest Mudder podium.
Lars won in Blue Mountain. Never mind.
Veerman has no wins. I don't believe. Nope. He has a couple podiums.
Several podiums. Yeah, and he never misses the top podium, 5.
Right? He was 3rd.
Oh, he misses the top 5.
And he was 2nd at
Jacksonville, Alabama.
Not for a while.
All right. But Veerman has those podiums at Spartan Ultra.
Veerman's standout is the ultra distance. That's what's setting him apart right now and putting him ahead.
Nope. The Palmerton doesn't do it. Okay. Albert Soleil our guy Ryan Kent in 12th.
He's gonna need to do some work in Seattle.
He's planning on it. Albert Soleil 13th, Mark Batres 14th, Richard Heineck 15th, Bracken Crocker 16th, Rylan Shadag 17th, Isaiah Vidal in 18th. We have Angel Quintero, who we might need to stick in here somewhere. But of those names listed, the ones that stick out that we need to talk about the most are Heineck and Shadag.
And I submit a Gregor into the conversation.
I was going to say 2 names, Gregory Basilico and probably Eugenio.
I thought you meant Greg. I thought you were saying Gregor Chekla. I was like, now we're talking.
Yeah. 3 straight years in the top 6. So pretty good.
Said he was going to run the 3K. Didn't.
I don't think anyone changes except Ryland's. Does he have a world podium?
Yeah, he had a world title this year.
Okay, then he has to go up.
Heineck won the European 3K.
That's a regional. So I think they can both. That's what I'm saying. I think they can both
in sync. Yes.
Where and Ryland had a second place.
Botras.
Who can't?
Heineck can't pass Botras, can he?
In a regional
off
championship.
Of this year.
He has one regional championship.
Has he won a world title?
No. Or trifecta.
Soleil hasn't. Soleil's been like right there many times, but he doesn't have a world title. He has many. I think he got 4th at OCR Worlds 3K and 4th or 5th in the 15K for his best finishes.
We might have Heineck too low. He has 2 trifectas.
Is not one spot better than me. Ryland is not worse than me. And Gregory Basilico is not worse than me. So all 3 of them need to move up aggressively. Soleil's stock is immediately starting to drop because instead of moving up towards higher results, which he needed, he had body of work, he needed higher results. He got no results.
Should Heineck be 10th? I think we just have him underrated on here.
I was going to say, I think he should be closer to Woods. I think he's done more than Tyler and Kempson have, to be honest.
He hasn't won the world titles.
2 trifecta titles.
Those trifectas are better than
ours. Kent. How does Heineck compare to Kent?
I mean, resume
because he has a world title of any amount, he has to, by our standards, be ahead of him.
And it's not like they're good. He beat Woods and he has good. He's beating good people at those.
Yeah,
I put him 12.
Woods, Killian Atkins.
Yeah, and I guess he has a regional.
Split the Ryans.
Ryan Woods is still one of the most spectacular OCR athletes of all time. I don't think we should take that ranking lightly.
No.
I think I vote for 12.
Woods' 2018 was just unbeatable, basically, until Tahoe when he had to do burpees.
But I think, if we look at it, Heineck has probably been the best in his region, right? For some time, over any amount of time, if we're doing that, right?
Heineck won the European Championship last year in the UK, and there were like 20 people within 4 or 5 minutes of the finish. Like that was loaded.
Veerman has an OCR Worlds title, which I think trumps trifecta.
Okay.
I think Europeans would vote Heineck ahead of Veerman and Kempson.
I would.
And I think North Americans would vote him behind those 2.
I mean,
I don't think we can split those 2.
That we're looking at now, like European
I don't think that we
OCR
had Kempson in the right. Or I don't think that we had Heineck in the right place.
I don't think so either.
And we needed to, like, he didn't do enough to really move up this year necessarily, but I think we underestimated him last year.
12th of all time feels right to me.
10.
I'm kind of with Jack on this one.
He hasn't won an individual title. He won trifecta.
He's won the European Beast and the European 3K on his title. He's won the trifecta.
Kempson and Veerman don't have any regional titles.
He's beaten Atkins. He is beaten.
We don't do head to head. We don't do head to head. I was just eliminated for that argument earlier.
Don't do head to head.
Okay. I think it matters.
We got Veerman and his ultra
this
podiums.
This is a 3-spot jump in 1 year without really racing.
Which we had him poorly
We just
ranked.
screwed up. We just messed up. We're amending.
So I think this is fair, and it gives him the opportunity to, if he deserves 10, to give it to these boys next year.
Don't buckle in, Rich.
Okay. Okay. That's
nah.
Because we're looking at the world titles that Veerman, or world podiums that Veerman has. Heineck has just those trifectas, right?
Based off what he did this year alone versus what they did this year alone, he can't leapfrog them this year.
No, but we just had it wrong. We had it wrong.
We could have maybe said it about last year, but we didn't. So now based off this year, we can't put him ahead of those 2.
I think we can.
But he can move up ahead of 3 other people who didn't race.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. But 12
next
12
year.
It is.
He'll be in the top 10 next year.
We should make a notation of people who we said 1 more year.
How many asterisks do we have?
We have Heineck.
Oh, now you're saying he cheated a bunch, Rich? Oh,
No,
No.
double asterisk.
double asterisk. Just
Double
making sure.
asterisk.
Nicole,
Chris,
Ida.
Chris moved up a bunch too. I think Ida's appropriate.
Elisa.
I don't know. The two ahead of her were never contending for world titles. She is.
Huh? Who?
The two ahead of Ida were never contending for world titles.
Karen won some.
Yeah, both of them won it. Which world title? That's
I
the
think
problem.
I think Ida and Alyssa are both appropriately. We can't just
Okay.
double asterisk every active OCR athlete on here. I think they're appropriate. Now, Rylan Shadag.
Veejay, I think you also need to put asterisk next to him.
Yeah, but,
Yes, for sure.
yeah,
Because he could be 4.
but he's still yeah.
We did say the argument was he needs one more year.
Okay, that's fair.
Body of work.
So then, Rylan, what do we do with Rylan?
Ahead of Bracken.
For
I
sure.
don't think he's done.
I'm coming off this list real quick here.
And
it's debatable
I
if
don't
I
think
was
you're
on
in
it
the
to
20
begin.
anymore.
We just like you.
And like Chris, you can't confuse what he's done in High Rocks or DECA with what he's done in OCR. If you look at this year as a whole, he got first in Big Bear for the 3K. That
was his first national series win.
Yep. He previously won a regional championship. In Kelowna. Yep. But yeah, national series first one, and he got second in Utah. So he's got that now. He went to San Luis Potosí for Mexico for the last race of the series after he raced like 4 times the weekend before and had all those flights. I think he got like 5th or 6th. He was having an issue. He got second at Trifecta Worlds. And then he had a rough showing in Abu Dhabi.
I think he's like,
he might be ahead. I think
he's 13.
Well, here's the thing. Everyone above him has matched those to some extent, but with some sort of world.
Well, he has a world now. He has the 3K.
Is he really more accomplished than Batras in OCR yet?
What's his world? Yeah, Batras has world's toughest. He has 3K.
He has the record for the most mileage.
He has a record, and he has more overall podiums. So I don't think he can pass him, but he's going to shortly.
Podiums he has no national series wins.
Yeah, it's like Rylan has an OCR
and a regional championship.
3K. Yeah.
I think he's above.
Maybe above Kent.
Batras's body of work is way more. He's not ahead of Kent.
Yeah. OCR World 3K title.
He has a world title.
He's got to be within one place.
And a regional title. And a national series win.
Soleil's missing the world title out of those, but he's always a threat. So it's like split the difference. Do you give longevity to Kent?
Soleil.
Because Kent doesn't have a world title either.
No, Kent doesn't.
Not an OCR.
Batras and Kent and Soleil are in the same boat where they have a huge body of work and national series wins, but nothing on the world stage.
Mm-hmm.
So we must have been ranking the body of work and the national series wins above what Batras did at WTM.
Man.
So I'd say for right now, 16 is okay, but by next year he might be 10.
I think next year he could be 8.
He has 2 straight years trifecta world championship podium. And I think he was 6th last year in Abu Dhabi, and he's won an OCR Worlds 3K title this year, and he has the regional championship in a beast distance.
Yeah.
And like,
listen, I'm a Rylan fan, and his highlights are high, but every single person above here has triple to quadruple the body of work of him.
Because he's only been around since 2021.
Correct.
That's
it's not a knock against him. He just might need another year, but then he can take these whole people in batch.
Who's the shortest career above him? Even Veejay at number 6 has been around since like 2014. Like Heineck 2015 or 16.
Our
Soleil
problem
was 16.
is that we rank the 3K World Championship at OCR lower than the 15K or Spartan. And that's his only world title.
And just he would have finished second in the 15K, but
I think his 3K is as good as Kempson's for a world title.
It is.
And Kempson doesn't have these 2 world podiums for trifecta, and he doesn't have a national series win, and he doesn't have a regional win. He could be in front of
National series
Kempson.
win.
He does have a national series win. Sorry, two of them, but not a regional win.
He could be ahead of him in highlights, but their highlights are very, very, very similar. And Kempson has triple the body of work.
This is like
body of work.
This is like Emma and Rebecca Hammond. It's like I would pick them in a race, and I think that their peaks are better, but the duration of their career is not long enough at this point.
Even right now, what race would I pick Rylan over Kempson in? An altitude beast. That's the only one I'd feel comfortable picking him in.
Really?
Yeah.
I would take him in that 3K.
Yeah.
I think Kempson would have given him the business in Palmerton. Well, and I think Rylan would have given him the business in Big Bear.
Big Bear. Yeah.
Like, I think they are very, 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 very as similarly matched in high end in their career highlights. And the only clear advantage is beast distance versus double to triple the body of work.
I don't think it's that much body of work that you're Kempson doesn't have a laundry list of accolades. Like really,
I think it's got to be
look
double.
At it. I don't think so, man. Jack,
I'm thinking if you check all the boxes, like you're forgetting about trifecta worlds, and Kempson hasn't. I think his best finish in Tahoe,
like 9th.
Yeah, I think he broke the.
And
top
he has to be ahead
once.
of Veerman because Veerman and Kempson are.
I think
that's what I'm saying.
Right now, Kent and Rylan are like very similar in everything they do. Kent's had a longer career. No disrespect to Rylan. He can easily move into the top 10. I would put him 1 behind Kent only due to the career length and accomplishments that Kent has had. Kent didn't venture out of Spartan though. So now that's like, we're talking OCR versus Spartan. Man, this is tough.
How many national series podiums does Kent have?
He's got like probably 5 or 6.
Does he?
He had like
He's
New
either gotta be
Jersey,
10,
West Virginia, Seattle.
10, 13, or 16. Because if he passes Batras, he has to pass all the way to Kent. But if he passes Hynek, he's got to pass all the way up ahead of Veerman.
Kinda.
Like Batras got 4.
There's no argument for the in-between. He either passes 3 or 6.
Yeah. Batras got 4th at OCR World's 15K in a year in which you had Alvin racing. I know.
4th ain't it.
But put him in 13. That's where I'm going.
Kind of think
where you going, Rich?
Kent, Albert, and
I kind of think the same.
I know his career isn't long, but he has raced so much. Look at Chris. When did Chris really come on the scene? 3 years ago?
Yeah.
She's a 6.
But she has 2 world titles.
I know.
Keep in mind, the men's field is 4 years ahead of the women's in terms of history and body of work and depth.
Yeah, 3 or 4. You're right. All right. Where's
there's nothing wrong with this. It's just disrespectful to the people he passed.
I know.
Not really. I mean,
which is why I couldn't vote.
We should have 3 columns right here. We list every single athlete, and then each of us gives it a number, and it takes the weighted average.
Here's the problem: if he never races again, if he had a career-ending injury and he never races again, he didn't have a better career than the people that he's above.
I think that you can make that argument.
I think he's going to. I think each year he's going to get better, even if he doesn't get any better. If this is his ceiling and he does this 2 more years, he's an undeniable top 6 or 7 guy of all time.
The regional title is big. I think that sets him apart. The world title, and
trifecta does matter.
I think Soleil has a regional title. Batras was in that race. He beat him. Batras was in Big Bear this year. He beat him.
No head-to-head.
It matters if you're.
No.
I think head-to-head is a huge difference maker.
I tried using it. That's why I'm saying it. And Rich shot me down.
No, because it's in different times. The head-to-head doesn't make any sense. Catch people into different parts of their career. And then you look at these numbers like, oh, look at this. It's like, we've done that with Veejay, right? Like, it's like, okay.
All right. Whatever. Agree to disagree. Move on to Basilico. He's got to be up. He's behind Batras.
You just want him in front of you. Basilico has the...
He has to be. Yeah. He has to be. In what world is he not?
4th and 2nd at Spartan World Champs. He's won trifecta weekend. He got...
When did he get
3rd?
What? Just now in the 21K.
Yeah, like, you didn't watch it. Remember?
Which is a B championship. We have to count that as a B championship.
Well, the guy who he was leading.
It's not about who he beat. It's about how Spartan promoted it.
I'm
the
not
the
World
Sunday championship of the world.
Spartan's own words were not that this is the world championship. This is a championship beast on the world championship weekend for the 3K. That's how they promoted it.
I'm not counting that. We're not even, here's a trifecta.
It's like a North American champ. It's like a regional championship to me.
You don't get the opportunity to see the Europeans face the North American athletes, and when he wins,
it was like
battle,
that's what I mean. It was like a spectacle. It wasn't like it was.
To me, it's worth a regional championship.
Is this like the Senior Bowl? Is that what you think it is?
The field he beat was a regional championship field.
Maybe
not our region, but a region. So it's legit.
Any race could be that.
So on paper, I have a second and a third at Worlds. He has a second and a fourth. He has trifecta. I have stadium.
He won't even venture into that ultra without nutrition.
I'm just joking, obviously, but he's clearly ahead of me, and he can't pass anyone else yet, but he's going to very quickly if this career arc continues.
Right.
Very quickly. Soleil is the wounded duck in this field, in that he doesn't have, his biggest thing is body of work. He doesn't have the high end, and everyone around him are title winners other than, I guess, Ryan Kent on there. Soleil and Kent are in the same boat.
Yeah.
And Gregory's going to keep winning titles.
Kent has a 6th at Worlds, and so does Rylan. That's their best.
Who else has won the trifecta world champion? Do you know all the trifecta champions off the top of your head, Jack?
Yeah. You guys want to guess? You can do some trivia.
We got to wrap this thing up soon.
All right, fine. Yeah. So
this is outrageously long.
Just
had to talk about that 21K. Had to talk about the.
I'm fine with Gregory behind Botchers right now. Next year, he's likely going to pass Soleil and Kent and a few other people.
Who's all won a trifecta? We don't want to guess. Just tell us who won the trifecta.
Roman Toth was actually the first year, 2017. John Albin, then 2019, Heineck, nothing in 2020. 21 was Heineck again. Heineck. 22 was who beat Gregory? This past year is Gregory. Did Heineck do it 3 times?
I think Heineck did beat him that year.
Yeah,
the rainy year. 20? Did they have it?
The rainy year was 22, and he won that.
So we don't.
I think Heineck's the 3-time.
I thought Heineck won twice. I thought there was something else in there.
Maybe they didn't hold it in 21 either.
They might not have.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's a good. I mean, that's a good list.
Put him behind Bracken or ahead of him. That's the only one.
What does he have?
Put him behind.
What? I mean, we probably have pretty similar careers. He's continued his later. He doesn't have a world podium, does he?
No.
And my world podium was back in the sandbox. So I don't know.
He got 6th at Tahoe one year. He has 2 second places at National Series races. Never won one.
This is what I think we did last year. I don't think we.
Yeah. No, he did win a National Series this year.
He did win a National Series this year. He did win the 3K.
And I only have a 2nd in a National Series.
Yeah. And Angel got like 8th at OCR Worlds, 15K.
I was 8th in the 3K. It's a push.
Okay. So you're very similar.
He could be ahead of me.
His career's lasted longer, to be honest.
Got that world podium.
I started earlier.
That world podium. Counting it.
True.
I'll never vote for myself on this list.
No, I know.
Put him ahead of me.
We need to sit here and back you up. Legend.
BK staying in the top 20.
He won the Minnesota Mountain Series race.
I did not. Woods and I were directed off course.
Oh, you were going. Oh, right. You got 4th. Add that to the
list.
list.
Don't forget about a month ago, Michigan.
2 months now. 3. 6 years.
Holy crap.
Got it.
Who's in the
race? You got to use the hybrid as a tiebreaker. 2-time regional champion doubles.
And second place finisher.
And a second place finisher in another race.
What other men have world podium finishes or national champs or anything that are in the mix for being on this list? They can bump me and Angel and Isaiah off.
You're just looking for it. World podiums?
I mean, Pablo Herdina.
There's not a ton of world podium.
pretty much
I think
everybody
we covered
above
that all. Yeah.
already gets it. Yeah.
So Pavel's next up.
Pavel could be there.
Eugenio.
When?
Godinez Romero. I mean, he's got second places, 2 National Series race, 7th at Worlds. Could have. I know could have doesn't matter, but like
he needs like a win or a world.
All right. That's fine. I'm just naming names, but we can wrap it up.
We need to wrap this thing up. We may have set a record outside of the legendary watch along of 2021.
Oh yeah.
The
22.
Athlinks, 22.
First year, 21.
21.
Yeah.
All right. That was fun. Next week we're gonna do the Okras, baby. We're gonna go live.
We should.
Live.
I'm gonna be at my parents' house in New Hampshire, so I'm gonna do everything I
Loser.
can. To
probably have good internet for once, so we can actually.
I'm bringing my cord, or Ethernet cord, so that I can plug directly in, so there are no issues.
I'd probably travel with that other microphone too.
Yeah. This one.
I have a little travel box. It's got my Yeti. It's got an Ethernet. Got some connections.
Smart.
Got to be able to hit the road on a second's notice.
I still have the original microphone box. So.
Jack's got it too.
There we go.
All right, squad.
See you next week.
Great job today. And hold on. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.